because I think it's impactful to me. It's on a personal front. So I'm not sure if you've seen some of the images and some of the devastation that it's hit this beautiful little island. So I'm just going to tell you a little story. So this is 7 Mile Beach in Negril. So if you know Jamaica, I've been there 6 times. I've been to Ocho Rios once, I've been to Montego Bay once, and then I've been to Negril 4 times. So if you know the area at all, this is what's referred to as the West End down here. You're walking, like the village of Negril is down this way. Once you go over the canal, and then if you go around the bend, so to speak, Rick's Cafe, where you've seen probably famous imagery of people jumping from trees, from cliff diving in that particular area. So that's where this is. So this person right here, his name is Henry. The first time that I went to Negril, actually the first time I went to Jamaica was my daughter's Make-A-Wish trip, as a matter of fact. That was it. That was in Ocho Rios. We went to Sesame Street characters at the Sandals in Ocho Rios. That was her Make-A-Wish trip. So my first trip to Negril, I every morning I noticed this gentleman coming outside and raking the beach, and you can see that he's sort of raking the beach, and it became something that along the beach people would do that, and he was raking the beach like literally right in front of his little jerk shack, right, jerk chicken, and I just noticed it, and then I approached him one day, and I just introduced myself, and we started talking, and then we sort of developed this little semi-friendship. He, name is Henry, has never left the island, grew up in Kingston. He used to tell me about the stories when he was a kid about how violent the streets were and how he felt lucky to get out, and he fell in love with this absolutely stunningly beautiful Jamaican woman. Her name is Marta, and so he works at the jerk line with a friend of his who works the counter, and Marta literally walks sections of this beach with a basket on her head with fruit in it. Slices of coconut, slices of pineapple. I can still hear her voice. Fruit. I can still hear her voice. It's crazy. Mango, brownies, right? So if you go from where the west end of Negril is, or the village of Negril, town down here, and then as you're walking up the beach, the star rating on hotel properties changes. Let's put it that way. So you've got there's people who live in this particular area, and then you're starting to get the 1-star, the 2-star, the less expensive places. And as you move all the way up to the other end of the beach, you'll get the hedonisms. You'll get the Club Meds, you'll get the Sandals, you get places like that. I've walked every square inch of this beach, I swear. And then throughout the beach, there's like these little alleys that sort of come off of the beach property as well. And that's where a lot of people have like their little businesses, like Henry, for example. We became friends. So the next year I went, he recognized me. I sought him out. He was still doing the exact same thing. He would call me by my middle name. I introduced him who I was, and he asked me what my middle name was. He called it my God name, and I'll never forget that. So we developed this friendship, and I'd come out in the morning and I'd have my coffee, and sure enough, like 6 a.m., Negril is known for its sunsets, and they are some of the best in the world. You can't explain it if you've never seen it. It's absolutely incredible. You get the little green flash at times, right? But the mornings, sunrise is just, to me, it's my favorite time there, because you get light like this, and the water, again, those of you who've been in the Caribbean at all, the water is just stunning. It's like colorless, but you'll see these schools of fish, the Sergeant Major fishes, which is like blue and yellow striped, and they school, and then you'll see a stingray kind of just hover by, like float by, and I would just stand out there with my coffee. One morning, Henry comes out with a coconut with the top cut off and a straw in it, and he gave it to me. And it became kind of like this tradition. So I would walk outside with my coffee, my Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee, some of the best in the world, and he would bring me a coconut. And then we would sometimes just hang out and chat. He would even move over and just rake the same spot over again, just so he could have this conversation with me. And then we would walk the beach together, and we'd sample a little local 420. And as the town started to wake up, you would get more smells. Like, you get the smells of coffee, and you'd get the smells of ganja. You'd get the smell of baking bread, coca bread, and all those kinds of things. And it just became something that was part of my life. So every year we'd go back, and Henry would be there, and he would immediately recognize me, and he'd just give me this incredible hug, and he like knows my children's names. And I don't use the term friend loosely. I consider him a friend. I can't reach him, right? Because I know if you've seen some of the video, it's just devastation, and people don't understand poverty if you've never been to a nation that is truly impoverished. But I will say this. For a group of people, first of all, some of the kindest, most generous, most loving people I have ever met in my life. They literally have nothing, but yet they have everything. And they just are generous, and they're just kind, and they're just humble, and they just appreciate the things that they have so much, but they don't have anything. And some of the houses are wallless, especially if you get away from the resort areas, right? Because at least there's work in many of these places. But if you get into the country a little bit more, like heading towards the mountains, you'll see poverty like you've never seen before. But yet, they just appreciate what they have. So I've not been able to get a hold of my friend, and I'm concerned. But if anybody can write this out, it would be him. I guess the good news about where Negril is, just because of geographically, it's a little bit protected. I don't know, but so yeah. So if you've ever been to Jamaica, you know exactly what I speak of. I was dubbed a Jamaican by my friend Henry, and I thought it was just a really cool, and I was honored by that. And yeah, so I want to just share a couple things with you. So that's my story of Henry, and I just want to go back to the flag just real quick, because I just want to remind people of the symbolism here. And thank you for allowing me to do this. The Jamaican flag, of course, you've all seen flags that have red in them as well, but this is primarily the Jamaican flag. Black represents the strength and the creativity of the Jamaican people who have overcome hardships and adversity. Green symbolizes the island's lush vegetation and hope for the future. And then gold or yellow stands for the natural wealth and beauty of sunlight that shines over the land. The flag's design, a gold diagonal cross dividing the black and the green fields, embodies the national motto, which is, hardships there are, but the land is green and the sun shineth. So when I went there, I was aware of, IRE, I-R-I-R-E, and what IRE is intended to mean. It's the idea behind IRE is just like it's a state of mind, right? If you are there, you are in the moment, right? You are just appreciating everything around you. And obviously what flows through the air helps with the whole IRE, thought process. And the goal is always to kind of take it with you. Like when you leave the island, to take the IRE with you as you get back to your hustle and bustle of your everyday life. And I've always thought about that, like in moments for me, like if I'm really stressed, I think about that. Like I think about IRE. Like what would Henry want me to do, right? I think about IRE. He would always remind me those kinds of things. Again, he'd say my middle name, and he'd say IRE, and we talk about those kinds of things. And then there's a term that I was introduced a little bit later in one of my trips. It's called Wagwan. So it's Wagawan. So Wagwan, you say Wagwan Rasta. So Wagwan would be what's going on, and then Rasta would just be like a term of endearment. It's like Wagwan Rasta. And then the appropriate response would be Midea. So Midea would be, I'm here, I'm all good. It's almost like, it's just this acknowledgement that you are aware of your surroundings, you're aware of the people that are in your community, you're aware of the fact that you're here in this moment, and we should all appreciate the moment that we're in, because like we all know, there are so many that have it much worse off than we do, even as bad as things are. So, Wagwan Rastas. And the response would be Midea. So, I appreciate you letting me tell that story. I just think it's when things are bad, I'm always reminded that it could be much worse. And I worry about my friend and his wife, and that beautiful country. Wagwan. Okay. Thank you, guys. All right. hard to talk about anything else, but it's the news, and that's what we do here. So thank you for allowing me to do that. I appreciate y'all very, very much. Let me just, as we're just reminded of the things that are the most important, I just don't want to forget that we've got a lot of things to talk about. So again, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you very, very much. Really, really appreciate you. Yeah, somebody said, I will. If I hear from my friend Henry, I will certainly report out because he's certainly on my mind. But I appreciate that. And I guess just to land that plane, so to speak, please try to see other communities around the world if you ever have the opportunity. I was thinking about it. I've been to outside of the U.S. and Canada. I've been to Jamaica more than I've been to any other place. And I feel part of it. So if you ever have an opportunity to go out and see other parts of the world, I would just encourage you to do that, not just because it's an opportunity to vacation, but because of the people, because of the cultures that you'll experience, because of the vibe that each place represents, unique things that you'll never see, right? It's something I just would encourage you to do. And then you can be Irie wherever you are. So it's Wagwan Rasta Midea. So I'm here. I'm good. Much like they say, y'all right in the UK, in Jamaica, it's Wagwan. So thank you for letting me tell that story. Okay, so I'm gonna get into some things today that are gonna be interesting to discuss, because the more and more we see and hear rhetoric from our current administration, we have to ask ourselves a question: are they more corrupt or are they more incompetent? And they can be both, because both are certainly true. both are certainly true. So it's a question of on which day will the scale tip. Are you more corrupt today or are you more incompetent today? So we know that our president is in Japan. Well, Asia. He is Japan first, South Korea, Malaysia. He did the double hand job dance, and he's now on his way to China. And there's a meeting with Xi Jinping, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. There's just some interesting sound that has already come from that particular from his first. I'm not going to say his first trip, but he's having a hard time connecting the dots to history. So he's at the George Washington. I think it's in Japan. He's at the naval base speaking to members of the United States military, and he might have had a little slip. So this is what he said.
And see, Biden used to say he was a pilot. He was a pilot. He was a truck driver. Whoever walked in, he wasn't a pilot. Wasn't much of a president either, to be honest with you. That I can tell you. That we all know. But
here's the thing. Joe Biden never said that he was a pilot. It was George W. Bush who was actually a pilot. Joe Biden never said that he was a pilot. Like, never. He never said that he was a pilot. Okay, we just got our daily restriction, guys. It must be because of the background. But if I could ask you guys to tap like crazy and like crazy and share like crazy, I'd appreciate that. Thank you, friends, very, very much. Again, Joe Biden, never a pilot. Okay? It's like, no. There's no record of Joe Biden ever saying that. So it's one of these things, like we discussed many, many times, is that the president will stand up there and he'll say that, and people in the cult will believe it, instead of saying, wait, Joe Biden never said he was a pilot. So I wish you all the best trying to navigate through those lies. But that's really nothing. That's not really what I wanted to get into today. But there's a few more examples of how much he's off the rails. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through the day. But I want to talk about a few things that have kind of bubbled to the surface as it relates to some of the things that the corrupt and incompetent Department of Justice is in particular. And don't worry. In case you were concerned, I've not forgotten about my bitch boy. I mean, the Speaker of the House. You know, Mikey and I had a little chat last night, and he felt bad yesterday that I was picking on him so much. But I said, listen, if you're a little bitch boy, there's not much I can do about it. So we will pay Mikey some more love today. Don't you worry. I'll not forget my little bitch boy. I'm going to take this opportunity right now to remind folks that sadly, the IDF decided that the ceasefire that they were told was in place, that we were told was in place, that our president said the war was over, that the ceasefire would hold, lobbing more rockets. Oh, thank you. Lobbing more rockets. And that's cool. Wow. Lobbing more rockets and missiles into Gaza. I think the reporting is, let me just double check on this. So major strikes, the IDF launched major airstrikes across Gaza, citing what it calls a ceasefire violation. According to health officials, 104 people, including 46 children, lost their lives. After the strikes, Israel declared the ceasefire resumed. So how does that work? So they decide if there's a violation, and then they decide when it's over. So it's really important that I think that we remind folks that none of us had ever accepted the fact that this war had ended. You go and you make this just bullshit fucking display and you say for the first time in 3,000 years, blah, blah, blah. Another lie. How then are you going to spin it is the question. We'll find out as more and more people talk about it. Israel accused the H group of violating the ceasefire by firing at Israeli forces near Rafah and handing over the remains of a hostage that the Israeli government claims were already accounted for. The H group denies responsibility for that specific attack, cited by the I group, and claims that Israel is the one that violated the terms. The U.S., particularly Donald Trump, is playing a strong role in overseeing the deal. U.S. troops were reported to be deployed in southern Israel to help monitor the ceasefire. Civilian casualties remain high, even under the ceasefire, pointing to how fragile the arrangement actually is. So can we just understand now, or maybe accept now, that this was never going to resolve itself just because the president signed a statement and just because he went over there and said this war's over? Where is MAGA? Why are you not addressing this? Why are you no new war patriots not losing your fucking mind that the U.S. military is basically encircling Venezuela, talks about troops on the ground? Where is your disdain for taking out drug boats? And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, because that's the way that they're spinning this is really interesting. And I've broken through, friends, and I'm going to talk to you about that in just a minute. But obviously, the situation is just getting worse and worse, just worse and worse, right? And then how then do we keep them being the administration, holding them accountable? How you do that is through the judiciary. Now, I want to say this. Obviously, my bitch boy, the Speaker of the House, is completely feckless. We went through the story yesterday about how Donald Trump has gone on the record saying, I'm the Speaker and I'm the President. And just Mike Johnson just bending the knee. He's just abdicated his responsibilities. Don't forget, there's this thing called the motion to vacate, which is something that is in the House rules. I believe they changed the rules from one person. I think it needs to be 2 or 3 people. I forget the actual numbers. I'll see if I can find that for you. But anybody can introduce motions to vacate because they feel like the speaker's not doing a very good job. That's how Kevin McCarthy lost his job, and that whole rigmarole started. So I don't know. He's losing a lot of confidence with members of his own party. People want it. Is it 3 now? I think you might be right about that, Becky. Members of his own party who are just like, dude, you got to open the fucking government. What the fuck is going on? He's just doubling down. So anyway, that being said, right? That being said, we know the situation with the U.S. military encircling Venezuela. We know that we've got U.S. military on the streets of American cities. We've got the National Guard deployed, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit because an appeals court has said, listen, you can't continue to do this shit. You know, we've got the DOJ lying about the National Guard deployment. We're going to talk about all that. I just want to remind you a while back what Bitch Boy said in regards to, you know, his love and adoration for Daddy. Let me see if I can find it. Hang on a second here. Wait a second. Everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. Okay, this was Bitch Boy a while back. I mean, Mike Johnson, in case you didn't know. No, Bitch Boy, I like that better. Here you go.
I'm proud to tell you that together with my friend Speaker Ohana of the Israeli Knesset, the equivalent of our Congress, we're going to embark upon a project together to rally speakers and presidents of parliaments around the world so that we will jointly nominate President Donald J. Trump for next year's Nobel Peace Prize. No one has ever deserved that prize more.
I don't think anybody in the history of the Nobel Peace Prize campaigned for the Nobel Peace Prize twice. I just thought it was kind of an unwritten rule, you know what I mean?
It's just like, you're going to sit there and you are really going to go that, you're going to go that route, my guy? Really? I mean, how can anybody support that? I don't get it. How can anybody support that? And you know what's going to happen? There's going to be public pressure, and there's going to be multiple nominations. And don't forget, he was nominated by one war criminal, and Bibi Netanyahu and fucking Putin told him the same thing. It's just like, I don't know. It's pathetically embarrassing. Hang on one second. Hey, yes, Tiff, you can just end it. Oh yeah, if that's the case, yes. We're talking about YouTube. Might be a little bit of a change in our YouTube. I'll mention that a little bit later. But yeah, if there's an issue, just text me and I will. I'll end it. I'm planning on ending the YouTube anyway. Inside baseball, you guys don't even need to know. Okay, let me just check on something here from Legend. There we go. The Olympic White House bobsled team. Nothing goes downhill faster. Yes. Hearts in the chat for our friend Legend, please. That's fucking the best. I'll leave that right there. Anyway, so that's Bitch Boy. I want to get into just what is a disturbing story. Now, remember when the Young Republicans group chat, all that story broke, right? We've discussed it in earnest many, many times about how some people refer to that. That's the future of the Republican Party. I'm like, no fucking bullshit. It's not. It is the Republican Party. And then that spurred a whole bunch of controversy. There was a Vermont state senator that was connected to it. He took a lot of heat. He resigned, which was great. In fact, most of the people who pressured him the loudest to resign his state Senate seat came from his own party. So that's good. So there's people standing up to it. But you continue to hear, I don't know, I guess references. Like we talked about before, like if you don't want to be associated with Yahtzees, then don't fucking hang out with Yahtzees. And then the problem is, the problem is when you have people in your party and who support your ideology, literally echoing the sentiments from a certain point in history. You guys may know the name Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh is a hardcore Christian nationalist, right? And he's gone on the record saying that women shouldn't have the right to vote, and he believes in the one race theory. And we've played sounds from the gentleman yesterday. I can't think of his name. What's his name? Richard Spencer. That same mold. So this was a quote from Matt Walsh just a few weeks ago. This is a quote, nearly every good thing you have in your life was given to you by a white man. Okay. There's another famous quote throughout history that says this: everything we admire on this earth today is only the creative product of perhaps one race. So Matt Walsh in 2025, nearly every good thing you have in your life was given to you by a white man. This quote from the Mustache Man in 1925 that says, everything we admire on this earth today is only the creative product of perhaps one race. So if you don't want to be called Yahtzees, if you don't want to be referred to or to make historical comparisons to a certain point in human history, then stop doing that bullshit. Right? So just stop. Like, stop. Today's far right may know it's wrong to talk about a superior race, so instead they frame it as a superior culture. That's kind of been their game. throughout history. Well, recent history. It gets worse, though, because of I saw this yesterday and the mod saw it this morning. So the Department of Labor is doing a campaign. Okay? So I'll show you some images. We'll talk about it. So they are, I'd love to show that one again. So they're promoting America First. Restoring America. Okay? Here's another one. Restoring, a dream worth fighting for. Okay? Here's another one. The idyllic image of a white middle-class family. The church, of course, in the background, right? Here's the entire campaign. Americans first, skilled again, homeland's future. Your nation needs you. Now, okay, the obvious, the obvious question that we ask is, does not exactly look very diverse then, does it? And then you get history. And then when history shows up, you start to ask yourself some interesting questions. This is some of the propaganda that came from a particular point in our history. Right? You can see it. 1930s glorified Aryan male workers while erasing women and minorities. Right? Encouraging their citizens to equate whiteness, masculinity, and loyalty with patriotism. Again, these are historical images from that same time frame. So there's that, and then you get this. You get this. Right? You get the idyllic images, you get the patriotic symbolism, you get the nuclear family attending church, blue collar boom, right? Building your future. Homeland is our future, right? Do we think that's a coincidence, friends? In the Trump administration's grooming, is the Trump administration grooming us the way the Yahtzee regime once groomed German citizens during its rise to power? The question looms large after the White House and U.S. Department of Labor released a new propaganda-style campaign. Now, friends, again, propaganda, disinformation, misinformation. This is propaganda. Okay, this is propaganda. There's no, you all know that, obviously. That's what this is. This is propaganda. And again, it mirrors things that we've seen in history. Now, people are going to try to say, oh, they're not the same thing. Really? Remember, the mustache man referred to it as the superior race, right? Now, obviously, the right's going to try to do as best they can to distance themselves from that term. Instead, they'll talk about it in terms of superior culture. Although people like Richard Spencer, Matt Walsh, other Christian nationalists don't give a fuck. They'll talk about it. So I would like somebody to defend this. Now, they would say, it's just a coincidence, right? It's just a coincidence? Really? It's just a coincidence? And you'll notice that if you look at some of the individual images, a chiseled, this is the ideal behind Make America Great Again. This is before civil rights. Right? This is right in the heart of Jim Crow. This is before, again, you can form your own opinions if you'd like, but tell me, restoring the American dream, and you notice what's featured. Hold on a second. Have you noticed what's featured in every image? What's featured in every one, you guys? Have you figured that out yet? Here's another one. See? It's the church. It's the church, right? Do you think it's a coincidence? No, it's not. It's by design. It's by design. It's YT people and it's churches. And this is the campaign, right? Look at the symbolism. Make America skilled again. The symbolism of the nuclear family, the church over everything. Literally, that's by design. As a marketer, that's exactly what that image is to portray. Keep in mind, you can have this quality of life. You can have the nuclear family. You can have the white picket fence, literally the white picket fence. You can have the beautiful home. But just remember, the church is above all of it. Blue collar boom, building your future. This is bona fide propaganda. This is Red Scare propaganda. This is, I forgot what I wanted to say there. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's be real, right? Let's can we call it what it is? No, we can, right? It's not that deep. It's not that deep. Okay. Well, I don't, people want to make the argument because we have similar symbolism, right? Here's the Aryan approach to society, how we're going to purify things, and then what's above it all. Interesting, right? Similarly, you can only be great if you abide by what we say. So this is the Department of Labor's ad campaign. Okay, so go back to this. The glossy retro-styled posters show white men in hard hats, lab coats, and muscle shirts paired with slogans like America's future, your nation needs you, and make America skilled again. At first glance, they might look harmless. Throwbacks, tapping into nostalgia for World War II area recruitment art. Remember, Uncle Sam wants you. But the deliberate choice of seemingly to exclude women and people of color while centering white men as a singular face of America's future is anything but harmless. For people of color and for women, this campaign communicates exclusion at a visceral level. And its aesthetic choices mirror Nazi Germany's propaganda machine, which conditioned citizens to equate whiteness, masculinity, and loyalty with patriotism and progress. To the casual eye, these posters might read as kitschy Americana, a salute to industrial labor, apprenticeships, and trade schools, but propaganda rarely functions at face value. Aesthetics are always political. The poster's deliberate retro style evokes an era when white men were unquestionably at the center of America's narrative. The square jaws, muscular physiques, earnest expressions are direct descendants of propaganda from 1930s and 1940s. Back then, government campaigns portrayed industrial workers as national heroes, linking their sweat to victory in war. But today's America is not the America of 1942. In 2025, women make up nearly half the labor force. Black, Latino, Asian, and indigenous workers sustain industries from agriculture to healthcare to infrastructure. Immigrant labor powers construction, logistics, and service economies. But in the Trump administration's campaign, there is no denying that white men are visibly centered, while women and people of color are wholly underrepresented. Only one poster includes a woman and a person who may be a person of color, but neither are black, Asian, or both, and they're literally positioned beneath a white man towering above them. And the only other image that I found was the family, right? The parallels to Nazi Germany are chilling. In 1930s, Joseph Goebbels' Ministry of Propaganda churned out endless posters of the ideal German worker. That's this one again. These images highlighted strong, blonde, blue-eyed men, farmers, blacksmiths, factory laborers as the backbone of the Reich. One famous 1933 poster, The German Worker, showed a shirtless Aryan man with a hammer in his hand, gazing into the distance with stoic determination. Their campaign was about elevating a racial and gendered ideal, white, male, loyalty to the state. This picture they're talking about. Women appeared only as mothers in Nazi propaganda, cast as bearers of the race, not workers or leaders. Jews, Roma, and other minorities were systematically erased from the public image of Germany. Propaganda made exclusion feel natural long before violence made it brutal. The Trump administration's campaign operates from the same script. The imagery elevates the white male worker. Let's go back to this again. Elevates the white male worker as the emblem of national strength while erasing women and people of color from America's future. The continuity of Yahtzee aesthetics isn't coincidence. It's cultural grooming. Propaganda doesn't always announce itself loudly. Often it whispers. It works not by shocking people into belief, but by normalizing exclusion through repetition. Nazi Germany didn't begin with the chambers. It began with posters. It began with films and speeches that reshaped citizens' understanding of who belonged and who didn't. Don't forget, I've discussed this before. Post-World War I, the Versailles Treaty was signed. It really was intended to control what Germany could do to rebuild. And Western nations, through protectionism and isolationism, tariffs, et cetera, kind of ignore what was going on. So Schmittler, on his rise, was able to convince the German public, including Jews at the time, by the way, that he was best for them. He was best for their way of life. He was best for their economy. So he sold them this theory of make Germany great again. And no matter what, I'm your redeemer. No matter what, I'm your savior. I say, I'm your savior. I can see you. I can make your life better. I will lower your grocery prices. I will secure our borders. Again, this is the same type of rhetoric. And then once he got them convinced of those kinds of things, then his crimes against humanity were irrelevant at that point, because I'm not saying all, but many just didn't care, or they were so caught up in the propaganda game. Here we are. I don't like to make these comparisons all the time. I really don't. But I just have to remind people what we're talking about here. It's the same. You can't, I mean, I'm trying to be objective here, but it's the same strategy. It's the propaganda. It's the grooming. It's the indoctrination into a particular cause. And this is at the center. It's about the white nationalist pride. And people who see this imagery at, who support it are like, why would we not want to make America skilled again? Are you saying that your nation doesn't need you? What's so wrong with wanting America first? What's so wrong with wanting to build our future? What's so wrong with blue collar workers? What's so wrong with having the church, the importance of the church? What's so wrong with attending church on the weekends with my family? That's what happens. That's what happens, because the narrative then spins away. The opposition are critical of people to say, don't you see what's happening here? And because they've been told all along that brown people are bad, that black people are bad, that the queer community is bad, that the disabled people are bad, that working moms are bad, don't worry, white men will save you. And I've said this a million times. I believe that white Christian men in America are the most entitled group of humans, or they believe that they are the most entitled group of humans that have ever existed. I'm not talking about being born into royalty, but they are literally at the pinnacle. They think that they are responsible for everything good. They generally think that they're responsible for everything good. I'm putting myself into that bucket because I understand, although I'm not Christian, I would put myself into that bucket. They think everything that we have is because of them. And it's not. Do I have white guilt? I suppose, yeah. I mean, I grew up in a culture that's built by people who look like me, to benefit people who look like me, to protect people who look like me. Yeah, absolutely. I'm attempting to use my privilege to kind of call this shit out so other people can pay attention as well. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to as far as that definition goes, but yeah. So, I mean, again, can we call it what it is instead of trying to run from it? It's the exact same thing. Like we've said this before. You sit down at a table with 9 Nazis, there's 10 Nazis at the table. Okay? So it's like, here we go. The story continues. The propaganda doesn't always announce itself loudly. Often it whispers. It works not by shocking people into belief, but by normalizing exclusion through repetition. Nazi Germany didn't begin with the chambers. It began with posters, films, speeches that reshaped citizens' understanding of who belonged and who didn't. Today, the Department of Labor posters function as a soft grooming, conditioning Americans to accept a racialized and gendered hierarchy. They invite viewers to nod along with patriotism, while absorbing the idea that white men, and only white men, embody the nation's destiny. The slogans themselves, lifted straight from wartime propaganda, "Your nation needs you," "Build America's future," reinforce that message. Wrapped in patriotic urgency, they leave little room for dissent. Who could argue with national pride without being accused of disloyalty? That's the kicker right there. People who prescribe to this theory, when we question it, when we say, why are there only pictures of white men here? Then they would say, well, you're not patriotic. You don't believe that we should make America skilled again? You don't believe that there should be a blue-collar boom? You don't believe that your nation needs you? This is propaganda. This is indoctrination. And the right has been incredibly effective at it. And Donald Trump is the mouthpiece that they have desperately needed. And they got him. So he sits there and tells, is a racist, race-baiting bigot. No doubt about it. And his followers love it. And they see him as embodying all these things. So when people push back and say, wait a second, this isn't America first, because America's diverse. Why does the church have to be over the home? Why can't we build a future that includes everybody? Why is this picture of the nuclear family what's supposed to be important to others? We all want to be skilled again, but are we saying that only white men can be skilled? My nation needs me? Well, my nation needs me because kids are starving. I don't see that referenced anywhere. Okay. The campaign's whitened vision of America stands in stark contrast to the real labor force. Black workers have always powered American industry, from entrepreneurs on Tulsa's Black Wall Street to Detroit's auto plants, and today black women dominate healthcare and education, while black men make up significant portions of construction and service industries. Latino workers are overrepresented in construction, agriculture, essential services, literally building the nation's infrastructure. Like, literally. Women comprise nearly 80% of healthcare workers and dominate education and social services, making them essential to both care and innovation economies. Immigrant labor, meanwhile, sustains entire industries, from meatpacking to trucking to technology. To erase these workers from a federal campaign is not just inaccurate, it is dangerous and it is intentional. It signals that their contributions are peripheral, their presence expendable, and their futures are negotiable. The campaign doesn't exist in isolation. It comes amid a broader cultural rollback. Black women are leaving the workforce in record numbers, facing disproportionate layoffs and stagnant wages. At the same time, DEI initiatives are being dismantled across government agencies and corporate America, erasing hard-fought progress towards equity. Meanwhile, white nationalist rhetoric is bleeding into mainstream politics, from book bans to attacks on affirmative action, etc. Against this backdrop, as the Trump administration's deliberate attempt to recenter white men as the face of America through this Department of Labor campaign, echoing authoritarian playbooks that have long used propaganda to pave the way for exclusionary policies. We've seen this before. Yahtzee Germany's propaganda elevated white male worker as the ideal citizen while sidelining everyone else. The Trump administration's campaign is a 21st century echo, dressed up in nostalgic Americana, but carrying the same exclusionary DNA. The danger lies not only in the posters themselves, but in the silence that follows them. If unchecked, these images seep into the public imagination, shaping culture, policy, and ultimately law. Propaganda works by making the outrageous seem ordinary. That's the quote of the day, friends. Okay? Propaganda works by making the outrageous seem ordinary or normalized. That's why it's critical to call it what it is: racial and gendered grooming, wrapped in patriotic packaging. The face of America's future is not only white and male. To pretend otherwise is to erase the very people who keep this country alive, from nurses to builders to teachers to farm workers that make up a multiracial and multigender society. History teaches us what happens when governments erase reality and replace it with myth. Yahtzee propaganda didn't just misrepresent the German people, it prepared them to accept persecution and genocide. We are not in 1933. The propaganda always begins subtly, with posters, with slogans. That is why this campaign matters. It's not just about labor, it's about who belongs, who leads, and who gets written out of America's story. And if history is any guide, silence in the face of propaganda is complicity. Call it what it is. Okay? We have to stop the collectively. We have to stop normalizing it. Okay? We have to stop. And people always ask, like, Steve, what's next? I don't have the answer for that, other than to call it out every single day. And to remind people when we talk about these kinds of things, right? When we talk about these kinds of things, we have historical examples to look at. We have speeches. We have statements by people like Matt Walsh, who said, in this year, nearly every good thing you have in your life was given to you by a white man. Schmittler, 1925, everything we admire on this earth today is only the creative product of perhaps one race. Now, if I prescribed to white Christian nationalist teachings, like Matt Walsh, for example, I would want to do everything I could. Let me rephrase that. If I did not want to be referred to as someone who's got, connections to Yahtzee rhetoric, that I would stand 10 toes down every single day and say, that's not fucking me. But instead, people embrace it. Or instead, people will say, what's wrong with having a patriotic approach to America? I don't see a problem with this. What's wrong with wanting to make America skilled again? This is blatant fucking propaganda. And the United States Department of Labor is using this for recruiting campaigns. You get up close and personal, right? Look at a dream worth fighting for. This one. Again, the church in the background. What does it say? Restoring the American dream. Really? Really? This one, right? The family down in the corner, the same family who came home from church. They've got their beautiful home. The church is above everything, right? But again, nothing to see. Nothing to see. Like I said, I don't like to have to talk about this every day, but I will, because we have people in our government, like my bitch boy here. I like the personal approach. This one, like my bitch boy, who prescribes to this bullshit. Right? He's a dominionist. He's a Seven Mountains Mandate guy. He's a Christian nationalist. Let's call it what it is. Right? He's in this position. He's abdicated all power to the presidency. He's been snipped, so to speak. He's relinquished his power that he had as Speaker of the House. And what has that gotten him, other than millions of Americans about to lose their food stamps in 2 days, 3 days? Yeah, I saw that. We'll talk about the medical debt, by the way, in just a minute. Yeah, Donald Trump himself basically said, I'm the Speaker of the House and the President. Brando, you're just wrong. So we'll keep our eyes on this Department of Labor campaign. Let me just check in with the mods for just a second here. Let me see. Okay, yeah, the House raised it. All right, I'm just reading through chat. It's a good point. It's a good point. If I failed to mention the disabled community, when I refer to the marginalized communities, I try to make that as a blanket, but I should be more specific. The disabled community, the poor, women, minority communities, black and brown people, queer people, the collective. They none of them count. Like, have you ever seen the the man in the what's the Amazon series? I forget the name of the Amazon series, but it's basically like if history rewrote itself and the Axis won World War II. So if Japan and Germany and Italy had basically won World War II, what America would look like. And there's a famous scene with with the man in the high castle. Thank you very much. Exactly. Thank you for the man in the high castle. It's great. There's a. Are you leaving? I love you. Be safe. Be kind. Be gentle. Have a good day. Sorry. There's a famous scene where, they are basically looking to thin the herd. Right? They can only have the best of the best. So one of the leading officers in the new American German hierarchy, his son has an illness, and that's not something that you can have in the pure nation. So they lie, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's another example of how the purification, right? You can't have disabled people. You can only have able-bodied white men. Yeah, John Smith's kid. Exactly, Nellie. Nellie knows. John Smith's kid. So here we are, right? And what is he doing to stop that from happening? Hang on one second. Hey, bro. Honey? What's your plan? You got to work, right? Yeah. Okay. I love you very much. Bye. Sorry, a little housekeeping. That's what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to literally thin the herd. I mean, think about it. Think about all the things that they do, from the Maha movement, claiming that we don't need to we're going to make sure only the survival of the fittest. It's literally the survival of the fittest. And the reasons that this is diabolical and strictly my own opinion, but why would you want to cut food stamps? Who are the people that benefit the most from programs like that? And we know that overwhelmingly, I think it's 48% of SNAP recipients, so the majority. 48%, I forget the numbers, I'm not going to quote it, but the majority of people who receive supplemental nutrition assistance programs live in red states on a per capita basis. And we discussed this from the ACA perspective. 56% of people who are on the ACA represented by Republicans in Congress. 78% are represented by or live in states that Donald Trump won in 2024. So, like, it's by design. Oop, hold on a second. Got to do this. Got to move the puzzle piece. Here we go. Okay. So, we'll keep our eyes on that story. I'm curious about how far this U.S. Department of Labor ad campaign will go, and what I want to find out is how people in the TikTok streets are going to respond to that. So when you ask people, like when we talk about how, when we say this entire administration is just fucking racist and white Christian nationalist, we've got evidence every single day. Every single day. We see the crimes they're doing. We see the language that they're using, who they're calling thugs, where they point their language to inner city crime. You hear the complete, the crazy, zany, bigoted bullshit, racist bullshit. You hear people say they call black on black crime. This is by design. They are being indoctrinated. Once again, as I say often, the messaging has been by design for years. They want to accuse the left all the time of being indoctrinated, right? Of being groomed. And what we are seeing is bona fide fucking grooming. Hate. Go after every single marginalized community there is. Everyone. No matter who they are. Unless you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me. You just got to look at the fucking ad. This to me right here personifies everything that MAGA is. The white Christian nationalist element. This is Stephen Miller's wet dream. If you don't want to be labeled a racist, a misogynist, someone who doesn't give a fuck about any marginalized communities, then why would you have advertisement like this? Why? Why would you use imagery that was in the heart of Jim Crow? Why would you use imagery that was before the civil rights movements and the Voting Rights Act, which is going to be gutted by the Supreme Court again? Why would you use that if you don't want to be connected to it? Why would you use imagery that is so similar to imagery used from a particular era in history when people call you out for it and say, why do you guys keep talking like Yahtzees? Well, we're not. You should stop calling us Yahtzees. No, we're going to call you Yahtzees because this is what you support. We're going to call you Yahtzees because young Republicans, again, people in the Republican Party now, are sharing Yahtzee rhetoric. We're going to call you Yahtzees because you've got people like Matt Walsh and Stephen Miller and Donald Trump referencing things from 1930s Germany. It's not on us. It's on you. If you don't like it, then stop being it. That kind of then bleeds into another conversation. I found this really cool sound from Dr. Eddie Glaude. He's absolutely amazing. He's a professor of African studies at Princeton. And I've seen him on numerous mainstream media shows. I just really like him. I've read some of his works. He's just a brilliant, brilliant guy. So let me get this off the screen and go back to, hold on a second. We'll use this. So I think he's part of like a roundtable discussion. So he's asked a hypothetical question. All right, you're going to hear from Eddie Glaude first, and then you're going to hear from, I'll give you her name before it starts. Come on in. You can come in. He's asked a hypothetical question, and he answers. So here's the sound.
Mr. Glaude, you are a high school civics teacher, beloved by your students. Here's your dilemma. The Libertyville School Board has just decided that the 10 Commandments must be hung on the wall of every classroom. You're holding the poster that the school board has printed out, purchased for you to put up on your wall. What are you going to do with it?
He grabs it, crumples it up, puts it under his desk.
Really?
Put it under my desk.
Why?
I've made the choice. We're not going to do that.
Do you have a problem with the 10 Commandments? Are you in favor of lying,
No, I'm a
dishonoring?
See, that's, again, when people, I'll play the whole sound for you. I just want to interject here. The question that the person who's hosting the panel asks is part of the rhetoric. So are you saying you believe that you support murder? Are you saying that you support adultery? That's the pivot. That's the argument that they want to make to challenge your belief set that you support the separation of church and state, that you don't believe that we live in a nation that is a Christian nation, right? So I think that's part of it. And this person who's doing this, I need to find out who this gentleman is because he's really good at this by posing these questions. And I'd love to be part of a panel and or facilitate a panel like this because I think these are the kinds of questions that have to be asked. This is related to what I was just sharing with you about the indoctrination, about how you've got imagery, the church above everything, the common current that runs through all of that rhetoric. In this case, in the U.S. Department of Labor's case, and in Christian nationalists' case, is the church. Okay, is the church. So here's the. I'll play from the beginning again.
Mr. Glaude, you are a high school civics teacher, beloved by your students. Here's your dilemma. The Libertyville School Board has just decided that the 10 Commandments must be hung on the wall of every classroom. You're holding the poster that the school board has printed out, purchased for you to put up on your wall. What are you going to do with it? Really?
Put it under my desk.
Why?
I've made the choice. We're not going to do that.
Do you have a problem with the 10 Commandments? Are you in favor of lying,
No, I'm a Christian.
dishonoring? You're a Christian.
Yeah.
And yet,
I believe in separation of church and state. Fundamentally.
you have kids in college, tuition bills, a mortgage.
Indeed.
Are you prepared for what might happen to you if you take that step?
No. But there are principles that I hold that are a reflection of how I was raised, in a small Catholic community before I made my way to Libertyville. And I want to live up to what my mom and my dad taught.
You in favor of
the next person you're going to hear
putting the 10 Commandments up on walls for our students?
It's a great question that you really...
This is Tina Deskovich, co-founder and CEO of Moms for Liberty. Okay? So you heard Eddie Glaud's perspective, I believe in the separation of church and state, and then you're going to hear the same questions asked to her. This was this roundtable. Ann Coulter was there, and other people as well. Okay, so this is Tina Deskovich responding to the exact same question: do you support the 10 Commandments being put up on the walls in public schools? Okay.
We do have to ponder, is it being put on the wall because you're trying to preach Christianity to the classroom, or is it being put on the wall because of the historical reference that the 10 Commandments has in the founding of our country?
What do you think?
I think it has a great historical record when it comes to the founding of our country and what we were built on in Judeo-Christian values. So I don't think it's a religious thing necessarily to put them on the wall. And if the school board voted, sir, that you need to put them on the wall, you're probably going to lose your job real quick if you put them on the floor.
And in fact, the school board did vote. It was a 3-2 vote in favor of this policy. Tension is building in Libertyville. People are upset, unsure about this 10 Commandments policy.
It's wild, right? It's wild, right? If you break it down as simply, so that's why I tried to paint the picture of the historical implications of what we're talking about when the U.S. Department of Labor is using imagery like they're using, with the common current running through it is the religiosity, if you want to call it, right? So here we are in a nation that is not a Judeo-Christian nation, was not built on Judeo-Christian values at all. There's no denying the truth there, okay? The facts are what they are. The Establishment Clause would not be the first part of the Constitution. There's a reason that it was the first thing you read in the First Amendment, okay? It's the first thing that you read, all right? So we know that the United States was not founded as a Christian nation. This is the problem now, though, right? We've got the Moms of Liberty group, and I'm gonna use this opportunity to remind folks out there, the reason that Moms of Liberty have infiltrated school boards is because they've run unopposed, because they saw an opportunity to go into these spaces and attempt to change the entire way public education is offered. Okay? So it's a call to action. What do I end the show with every single day, friends? 2 simple words. Do something. The doing something in this case could be finding out the complexion, literally, of your school board in your community and deciding that I'm going to be an oppositional voice to that bullshit. Otherwise, this is what we get. Generations of indoctrinated young minds at the hands of people who believe their religiosity and their Christian nationalist views are what should be taught in America. It's your choice, right? It's your choice. My public school education school days are over. My daughter's a graduating senior. But I'm here to fight and remind you of what is at stake. It continues, okay? Ron DeSantis. We know Ron DeSantis. We haven't heard from him much lately. This is Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. This is what he had to say recently.
So today, announcing a partnership with Turning Point, we want to make sure that all high schools in Florida, anybody in a high school that wants to start a state Club America chapter will be able to do so. There shouldn't be any impediments to that, and certainly no discrimination. We're not going to allow that. And any school or school district that does try to discriminate, that man right there will probably first send you a nasty gram and then drop the hammer. So that will happen. And so this was founded earlier this year, but Club America is a new student-led organization designed to mobilize high schoolers to advocate for American values, freedom, free enterprise, and limited government. And obviously, Charlie started out as one of the lone voices on university campuses talking about those back in the day.
So, as a person who does respect free speech, I don't have a problem with allowing these clubs to form. The question I have is if there was a local chapter of the anti-fascists of America that wanted to form in these public schools, Ron, would that be allowed? And my guess is abso-fucking-lutely not. That'd be my guess. Or if the local high school chapters wanted to start their own indivisible chapter, would that be allowed? I doubt it. I doubt it. I could be wrong. But to be objective would to say, if they want to start this group, if there's conservative young men and women who want to start these groups, I support that. They should be able to do that. Simultaneously, oppositional groups, ideological opposition should be able to do the same. And do I expect that to happen? Fuck no. Crazy. Hi, Fairy Dust. How are you, friend?
Hi, good morning, Steve. Hi, chat. To add to this point right here that you're talking about, oddly enough, I'm in a battle with my son's university about Turning Points USA. So parents, check your children's organizations that are associated with universities as well, because they're not just doing high school. So they have local chapters of Turning Point USA within the universities now. And matter of fact, and I'm looking at my daughter's school, they go to two different universities, and both of them have them. And then we have pretty much like an Ivy here in our state as well, and they have one as well. So I challenged the dean of students, and I think he's just like, I don't think he knows what to say to me, but they're trying to phrase it as, like you were saying, opposition, where they're able for, freedom of speech, yada, yada, yada. They haven't done nothing, blase, blase. But my thing was, so how are you going to allow an organization that is historically anti-education to be in an educational setting? Like, that doesn't even make sense. I said at the very level, it was a whole host of other things, but I want to just draw attention to the parents that have university level kids. Check those organizations as well. It's not just the other ones. And Turning Point is just not just showing up. They have local organizations there, so that means they're organizing on the campus.
It's a really good call out. I mean, I didn't even think about that initially. Don't forget, Charlie, his entire approach is that college is a waste of money.
Right.
College is a scam. So what do you, again, this is by design. Remember, opposition to fascism and authoritarianism is education. People being informed as to what's happening. They don't want an informed electorate so they can continue to lie to them and fool them. So it's by design. This entire thing is by design.
Yep. Well, that's all I wanted to tell you, because it's so funny that it came up. I was like, oh crap, I forgot to tell Steve that I was going to message you and let you know what was going on. But yeah, guys, check your kids' schools, the universities as well.
I appreciate you as always, my friend. Thanks for jumping in today.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you later. Let me just check in here real quick. Hang on a second. I almost started singing. Thank you to Amy from Peeps for Peace. Thank you so much from Peeps for Peace. I appreciate you very, very much. You're so kind. Let me just adjust this really quick. Okay, I've got a few other guests in the box. I'll bring some more people up. Let me see. I see Ash. Hi. How you doing?
Good morning. Hold on one second. I only have 1 second. I just wanted to ask you a quick question, and then maybe you could talk on it. From my understanding, if they with the cutting of the SNAP benefits and stuff, this is going to cause groceries to increase again, right?
Absolutely, because you're taking money out of the supply chain, right? Yeah.
And so, like, what I keep seeing is, they always say, like, we'll see these temporary increases or whatnot, right? So I can just hear the excuses, right? Like, it's a temporary increase until people are forced to get on their feet and blah, 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 blah. But we never see those prices go back down. And I think that's important, is that, like, it never regulates back the way it is, because they aren't going to cut their own profits and then keep the prices the same. So what we'll see is an increase. And then that's going to become the new norm, if I'm understanding correctly how this is working.
Absolutely, because you'd be talking about deflation. That's not something that happens. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think we talked about it yesterday. It's like roughly $8.1 billion when you cut.
I'm gonna drop just really quick. I just want to hear you talk about it because I got to take my daughter to school. But
okay, love you, friend. See you later. All right, bye. So when you take that much money out of the food stream, so to speak, the supply chain, it affects everything, right? So costs go up. People have less money to spend on food. What happens? Basic economics, prices go up. So you're talking about removing all these things when prices are just going to naturally inflate. 3% inflation. We know food prices are up across the board. It's going to get worse. There's reporting from the New York Times. The expectation is that because a lot of importers and retailers have been absorbing some of the tariff costs, but they're done just in time for the holidays, just in time for people losing their Medicaid, Medicare, just in time as premiums are going up on an average of 30%. That's before the subsidies go away. Food stamps being cut, WIC being cut, the entire thing. Who stands to benefit? Follow what? It's the same fucking model all the time. Amazon laying off the 30,000 workers. New reporting on that. 30,000 workers, replacing them through automation, AI jobs. Who stands to benefit? Think about that for a second. Massive tax breaks for Jeff Bezos and Amazon. And they replace them not with people. So what does that do? They increase their profit. SG&A on your budget, salaries, basically general accounting. No, but usually the biggest expense that companies have to take on. Boom, gone. We talk about these kinds of things because the fight should not be with each other. The fight has to be with those motherfuckers at the top of the top of the food chain. Why? Why would people continue to support this idea of trickle-down economics? Jeff Bezos, Amazon, other large companies like that handed these tax breaks under the premise of Reaganomics, Maganomics, etc., that is suddenly just going to trickle down. Nope, you're given the tax break, and what do? You lay off or fire 30,000 workers and replace them with AI, as AI is driving the stock market right now. MAGA, you want care to explain that? That we're losing manufacturing jobs in the sector that you were promised, that Donald Trump told you he was going to invigorate. He was going to re-energize. And we're losing manufacturing jobs. Losing it. And we're losing manufacturing jobs. He told you that tariffs are going to bring the jobs back. Not only are they not coming back, but we're losing them. Hardworking Americans in industries across the country being punished. Why? So the rich can get richer. Period. Full fucking stop. And now, we've got states like Florida and other states wanting to roll out PragerU and Turning Point curriculum. You guys know why, right? You know why. Because they being the Christian nationalist takeover, the Moms of Liberty of the world, the PragerUs of the world, the Turning Point USA folks of the world, they don't want an educated electorate. They just don't. They don't want people to see what's happening. They don't want critical thinking. It's why they don't want journalists. It's why they want to control the mass media. Don't forget all these consolidations. It's why they don't want the press covering what's happening in the Pentagon. They don't want you to see what's happening. So stand up for independent journalists. People out there that are doing the work, sharing this kind of information, connecting the dots for you. That's why this stuff is so fucking important. That's why. Think about this. Yeah, where's the quote again? Yeah.
Smart people don't like me.
There you go. Think about what we're talking about right now, okay? I'm going to play this sound. You're going to hear from Brooke Rollins. Brooke Rollins is the ag secretary. And this conversation is about food stamps because it's her department that's responsible for it. This is a bit of a wild take, I must say. And she's been media trained, and she actually answers this question in a very good way, but this speaks to exactly what we've been discussing here. Okay? Here you go.
You have executive authorities and executive powers to move money around. And you've moved it around to pay for the troops, and you've moved it around to pay for the FBI, and you've moved it around to keep other elements of the government open. So why not, as president, as budget director, and as agriculture secretary, say, you know what? We're going to find a way to let people eat starting Saturday and Sunday while the games get played up the street. And the blame will be sorted out by the American public. But you have this immediate need, 42 million people, 12% of the country that could go hungry starting Saturday, when you have the ability to do something about it right now.
Well, I don't agree with that. We do not have the ability to do something about it right now.
Yes, you absolutely fucking do. It was just explained to you.
The troops was someone stepping up, an incredibly generous American patriot who said, all right, that $130 million
So why not find a private donor to help pay for people's food?
Will you help me do that? $9.2 billion, maybe George Soros or someone like that will say, you know what? I have been funding these left radical agendas for so long. I'm going to now use my money to help people eat. But this is so easy. All we have to do is vote yes on a continuing resolution. Why won't the Democrats do that? Even their own labor union is saying, please, for the love of God, vote yes. Let's get this government back open and start serving the American people once again.
Well, it's not their labor union, but it is the American Federation of Government Employees that is saying,
it's a little more left-leaning, yeah.
Where's Elon? Where's Bezos? Where's the Koch brothers? Where's Peter Thiel? This sound, the information has become public since, but this is the comment that she was referring to, or the fact that there was this angel donor, I guess you want to call them. Do I have that? I think I do someplace. Hang on a second. Yeah, here you go. This was the hot mic moment initially, and then I've got some more reporting on that.
And how about the man that put up $130 million to make sure our military got paid?
You won't tell us who
I won't tell you, but this is a person that called me that said, sir, I'd like to make a contribution of any difference needed for the United States military. I said, I don't know, that could be a big number. And we worked it out. It was about $130 million. And he wrote a check for $130 million because he's an unbelievable patriot. And that's what it's all about.
I forget how little that actually did, and we don't even know if it's even happened. I'm gonna just let me just do this real quick. I'll be right back, guys. Sorry about that. Hello. Sorry. So that person, initially they were supposed to be anonymous, but what we know is that the person who actually made the donation, his name is Timothy Mellon, a billionaire heir and major political donor. The gift was accepted by the United States Department of Defense during the 2025 federal government shutdown to help cover the pay of active duty service members. Okay. We'll talk about the full story. The donation was made under the condition that it be, quote, used to offset the cost of service members' salaries and benefits. The donor had previously been anonymous. The identification of Mellon became available via the media. Again, investigative journalists uncovered the fact that we now have a name. Some legal and ethical questions have been raised, including whether the donation complies with what's referred to as the Anti-Deficiency Act, which prohibits federal agencies from spending money not appropriated by Congress or by accepting certain gifts. So, like, it's not even ethical. It's beyond ethical. Like, we don't even know if it's happened. It gets a little deeper, though. This gentleman, Mr. Mellon, Timothy Mellon, born July 22nd, 1942, Pittsburgh, grandson of Andrew Mellon, Treasury Secretary, prominent banker, and son of Paul Mellon. Carnegie Mellon, the Mellon family from Pennsylvania, you know, they're one of the richest families historically. He's again heir to the Mellon banking and industrial fortune. Attended defense school, Milton Academy, bachelor's, personal life, multiple marriages, lives privately, reported on ranch property in Wyoming. He was early activity, including after Yale. He worked at the computer center, founded software wood treatment firms, founded Guilford Transportation Industries. In 1998, acquired the rights to the Pan Am Systems brand. Subsequently, the rail airline business was renamed and sold in 2022 for a profit of $600 million. His wealth is estimated at anywhere between $2 and $4 billion. Although from a historically elite liberal conservative family, Mellon's political trajectory shifted. Early life, he voted for liberal candidates, later became a major Republican donor. In 2021, he donated $53.1 million in stock to the state of Texas to fund border wall construction under Governor Greg Abbott. He has given more than $100 million to super PACs supporting Donald Trump, and somewhat surprisingly also to RFK, which many observers and experts say was just to disrupt rather than unify. He has self-published autobiography titled Pan Am Captain, in which he expressed strong views against welfare, race, social programs, and taxes. So that's the guy. That's the guy that supposedly wrote a check. Right? The guy that, let me fix this. The guy that supposedly wrote a check to the U.S. military, which is against the law. The Anti-Deficiency Act means that only money to fund government programs can come from Congress. So I don't know. I don't do this thing here. Do that. Where is congressional oversight? Yeah, I think it's like $100 a person. Where's congressional oversight? Bitch boy, Mike, aren't you going to question that? Have any interest in doing that, Mike? Questioning that at all? About the ethics connected to these kinds of things? Thank you. Or do you just not care? Do you just not give a shit? Anyway, anything you can do to grease the skids, so to speak, so we can continue to slide into Christian nationalism? Mellon is an example of a modern ultra wealthy heir who wields both business and political power behind the scenes because of his wealth. His donations reflect targeted efforts, especially to conservative and border immigration policy causes, rather than anything specific to philanthropy. His statements, notably in his autobiography about welfare programs and race, have drawn criticism for being racially insensitive or reflective of sweeping conservative critiques of the social welfare state. The $130 million donation highlights a broader question in public policy when private individuals step in to fund what is typically a government responsibility, military pay, border security, etc. What are the implications for democratic accountability, congressional appropriations, and separations of power? That's a great question, isn't it? Sure is. That's a great question. Good morning. Glenn, are you there? Hey, Glenn. Glenn? Glenn, are you there? I guess not.
Hey, Steve. How's it going?
Hello, my friend. I'm good, my friend. How are you?
2 weeks away from my MBA. I am loving life.
I'm going to say something. I've been on that journey. I feel like I've been on that journey with you. So I'm so psyched that you're almost there. I'm proud of you. Well done.
Well, thanks. I wanted to say something about the labor, what you were saying earlier. I'm doing a simulation right now, and labor is the most expensive cost. And what they're going to do, and in the simulation, I'm looking at, the cost of labor, idle time, all these things I didn't know were involved in running a company. And people need to understand that when you don't get that the 1% does not care about the labor force, because they will replace you with AI, they will replace you with robots. Yeah. You need
automation.
To stop buying things because they're wealthy because of us. If Correct. You go out and you spend your money in the corporations, and Steve, I know you can back me up on this. Come Saturday, the grocery stores are going to start suffering because a lot of them depend on EBT.
Correct. They do.
And they're going to start closing. So the rest of us who are not dependent on SNAP will suffer as well. And
Correct.
The whole thing about the military, he's talking about paying active duty. I get retiree pay. What happens with us? My dad is a retired DC firefighter. That's a federal pension. Guess who's not getting paid next month? All of these people that voted for this, they're like, oh yeah, it's the Democrats. You have a Republican president, you have a Republican House, and a Republican Senate. How is it the Democrats' fault? And why is it Trump can write executive orders for everything else he wants, except this? Congress has been going along with it. So why aren't they complaining about that?
Because they need somebody to blame.
Exactly.
They need somebody to blame, and their entire plan around the government shutdown has blown up in their face because they fully expected the Democrats to cave, and the Democrats didn't.
No. And here's the crazy part. I'm back in DC. I used to live in Central Virginia. That is really Trump country. Okay, Richmond, that area is a whole bunch of them living there. These are the people who depend on SNAP benefits. You know who's not complaining about subsidies right now? Black and Latino farmers, because they weren't getting them. Their farms are doing well. You know who else isn't complaining? Women like me, Black women. We don't have jobs, but guess what? We start businesses. We have a sense of community. Our churches are actually ready for the first. Black churches, Hispanic and Latino churches are actually ready. I actually got into an argument with one of my friend's wives who was upset because I said, if your church does not have a food bank or space for a food bank and hasn't filled it up, you need to leave that church. A lot of people are talking about that because they're not using your tithes for what they weren't intended. Because she works for a church, she got offended. And I said, well, wait a minute. Your church goes on missions. If your church can go on missions, they can have a food bank. They can do this kind of stuff. But no, she's talking about, oh, people will be too humiliated and embarrassed. I don't know about you, Steve, but I don't ever see people who are hungry being too proud to accept food from different sources and go to different places. And yet these are the same people who will argue down, oh, they'll be embarrassed, they'll be this. No, they're going to be hungry. And if your church doesn't have a rented space for the food, and they can't come to the church to have their bills paid, they can't come to the church to eat, they can't come to the church to have their children taken care of. And I know a lot of doctors who go on mission trips. Why aren't you helping the people in your community that don't have health care?
Well, and Cage, and you know that people will do whatever's necessary in many cases to support their family, including crime, including whatever those things might be, which again gives the Christian nationalists more excuse, more reasons to say, see, we have a crime problem. It's all part of the plan. It is all part of the plan. The billionaires will gather up real estate. They'll gather up small businesses. They'll gather up grocery stores or apartment buildings or whatever that closed because people can't afford to live there anymore. And it will become, the wealth will expand. The middle class will get poorer. Marginalized communities will have it even worse off than they do now. Even in perfect conditions, marginalized communities take it the hardest. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse.
We're already starting to see it in stores. We're already starting to see it in doctors' offices being mistreated. We're already starting to see it. But more importantly, we need to stop calling them the Christian right. We need to start calling them what they are, Puritans. They've gone all the way back to Puritanism. We need to start calling them what they are. They're Puritans. If you look at the history and what they're doing, they are the Puritans. They've just rebranded their mission. That's all. But you look back, these are the same people who unalived witches by burning them at the stake and hanging people and all that other stuff. That's who they are. And until people recognize that, it's like this whole Purple Revolution. I did a couple of videos on it, and I'm like, we're not going back to the Bacon Rebellion Part 2. Because when we fought with that, we ended up in perpetual slavery, and the same people we fought with became our overseers, and they were worse than the slave master. So it's like, people need to understand, if we're going to band together, what we need to band together on is the fact that these people, they keep saying they want to go back to the 1700s. They mean that for everybody, not just black folks, not just indigenous. They mean that for white folks too. And people are going to find out in, what is it? Today's Wednesday, in 3 days, that they are not part of the club. A lot of white folks are going to find out they are not part of that club.
Oh, big time. Like everything, Cage. We've talked about this before. The bulk of the policies and or rhetoric and or executive orders coming out from the White House over-index their own voters.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're the ones that are going to be harmed the most. But because they've been able to convince, they being the Christian nationalists, Donald Trump and the MAGA movement, have been able to convince mediocre white people that people like you and marginalized communities in general are the threat. Meanwhile, they're getting their pockets picked every single day.
And let me add
time and time and time again.
Let me add one more thing, because I know you got to bring somebody else up. I have a friend white woman, who was talking about DEI. She works for the federal government. Well, guess what? They fired all the quote unquote DEI, and now she's doing the work of 3 people and she's complaining. And I said, well, wait a minute. As a white woman, you said everybody else was DEI. You should be proud to have the extra workload. It should show that you were right, that everybody else was not doing their job. So I don't understand why you're complaining. You should be shining. Now she's exhausted. She's having all these health problems. She's now saying they're not going to hire anybody else, that now she has to continue this work. And I'm like, this is what you voted for. Stop complaining. You all talk about us being in the middle and on the left, whining. Now you're suffering the consequences of your votes. We don't want to hear it. And I've landed my
well said, friend. I appreciate you. If we don't speak in prior to 2 weeks, congratulations, and I'm super proud of you. It's an honor. Welcome to the club.
Thanks.
Welcome to the club. I appreciate you. Talk to you later. All right, bye.
Talk to you later.
All right, bye. That's right. No notes. like no notes. I want to talk about SNAP. Again, just listening to the rhetoric that comes out from my bitch boy about how the government can't do these things. Yes, the government can. Why are you not reaching out to some of your rich donors, the people that are getting the benefits of the tax breaks, that were literally sitting behind the president on Inauguration Day, who are there, exponentially growing their wealth because of the policies that they supported? Why are they not funding SNAP? Why are they not? Why are they not? So here, let's do the thought exercise, right? $130 million is the number. So George Soros goes knocking on the door. I'd like to write a check for $130 million to make sure Americans don't suffer through SNAP benefits. Do you think this administration would take the money? Of course they wouldn't. There's no fucking way in hell. Because if they did take the money, then they're going to have to explain to their base that they took money from George Soros to pay for SNAP benefits. There's no fucking way they would ever do that. No way. So here's reporting Nicole Wallace. I found somebody sent me this clip, and I think it kind of speaks to a lot of what we were just discussing.
A rather devastating indictment and snapshot of life in Donald Trump's America as the government shutdown and Donald Trump's policies put additional financial pressure on Americans already stretched too thin, and for those who voted for Trump, promised lower costing groceries, among other things. The USDA has announced that come Saturday, the 42 million Americans who rely on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, it's often referred to as SNAP, will be forced to go without benefits that'll run out. Trump's USDA writes in a statement this, quote, "The well has run dry." It comes after Trump cut approximately $500 million in aid for food banks earlier this year, and is not the only way that life is about to get a lot more difficult for a lot more Americans. The government shutdown and Americans out of work over the Republicans' refusal to extend Obamacare subsidies. The Washington Post is reporting that people are going to see their premiums go up 30%. Post writes this, quote, the higher premiums, along with the likely expiration of pandemic-era subsidies, mean millions of people will see their health insurance payments double or even triple in 2026. And if that isn't enough already, these additional financial pressures come as the New York Times reports that almost everything is about to get more expensive as companies finally start passing along the costs of Donald Trump's tariffs to the American consumer. Amid the growing hunger and affordability crisis in America, blue state governors are expressing outrage over Donald Trump's lack of action.
We are fast-tracking an $80 million investment. We're front-loading it to get them to food banks. I'm very worried about 5 million people in a matter of days losing food stamp, losing their SNAP benefits, and entering in a grocery store with Donald Trump's tariffs and inflation.
They're paying contractors to tear down the East Wing, but they're not putting money into the food bank that they're setting on. So if there's a sense of frustration in America, it's very real.
That $300 million that Donald Trump is spending on making a gold ballroom where the East Wing once stood, and the $230 million he's trying to get us, the American taxpayers, to reimburse him for being under criminal investigation, they add up to roughly the same amount of money he has cut from America's food banks.
$500 million cut from SNAP programs to support food banks. $530 million, the cost of the ballroom, and the $230 million that he wants to get back from the DOJ. America first, though, right? Make America great again. That tracks, right? That tracks. As I was mentioning before, and one of our amazing mods, Francis, I love you, friend, for sending this story, as we were just discussing about Ron DeSantis going public saying, oh yeah, we fully support Turning Point USA chapters. We want to make sure that every voice is heard. Well, funny that you say that, because there's reporting, and I'm just seeing this story, there's reporting out of Broward School. They cancel a Latinos in Action course. What do you know? So apparently the statements that you've made about making sure that everybody's voices should be heard, Ron, was just a bunch of bullshit. So just as a reminder, this is Ron again.
We are also today announcing a partnership with Turning Point. We want to make sure that all high schools in Florida, anybody in a high school that wants to start a state Club America chapter will be able to do so. There shouldn't be any impediments to that, and certainly no discrimination. We're not going to allow that.
You're not going to allow that, but Broward Schools cancels Latino in Action course under pressure from federal government. The district has pledged to eliminate the leadership course for the spring semester after the Trump administration said in a letter the class discriminates against other ethnicities and violates federal law. What was that statement again that you made, Ron? I just want to make sure, because you talked about discrimination, I think, right? Let me just make sure I heard that properly.
Announcing a partnership with Turning Point. We want to make sure that all high schools in Florida, anybody in a high school that wants to start a state Club America chapter will be able to do so. There shouldn't be any impediments to that, and certainly no discrimination.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. Broward County Public Schools is canceling the Latinos in Action leadership course after being ordered to do so by the United States Department of Education. Latinos in Action is a popular extracurricular club. Ron DeSantis literally just talking about Turning Point USA clubs. Anybody should be able to establish them. We're going to avoid discrimination, but the Latinos in Action is a popular extracurricular club, and it's also an elective class offered in 44 Broward County public and middle school and high schools. The district has pledged to eliminate the leadership course for the spring semester after the Trump administration sent a letter to the district 2 days ago. The class discriminates against other ethnicities and violates federal law. Really? I'm a proud Cuban American, and obviously I want Latinos to be well represented in this district and this community. However, we're going to do that within the confines of all state and federal legislation, said Adam Cervera, the only Hispanic member of the Broward County School Board. Covera was appointed to the board by Governor Ron DeSantis. He points out that the Department of Education's letter says the Latinos in Action course has a quota system which violates federal civil rights laws. Holy fuck. The Latinos in Action program, however, is designed for and exclusive to Latino students. It is not, for instance, available to Black, white, or Asian American students, the letter states. We allow everyone into these clubs and everyone into these classes within the district, and I will also tell you that within our contract that we have signed with Latinos in Action, there is no language requiring a certain amount of threshold students to be Latino or non-Latino. An inclusive club that anybody can join, the letter from the Department of Education says this discriminates because you don't allow Black, white, or Asian American students. And the club charter itself says, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. I didn't know of this story while I was playing the sound from Ron DeSantis earlier about how, yeah, I'll guarantee if there's an oppositional club, they're not going to let it happen. And sure enough, what do you know? What do you know? No discrimination though, right, Ron? No discrimination? Just again, Ron, just want to make sure I heard that correctly. You don't want to discriminate? Everybody should have a voice?
Today, announcing a partnership with Turning Point. We want to make sure that all high schools in Florida, anybody in...
I know, Lai Nielsen. I am funny. I appreciate that. I'm funny. I'm charming. I have a lot of friends. What's your story? You're here, though, and I appreciate the engagement in live. You're here. I've noticed that you've made comments. Do you need attention? Lie, chat, lie. Have fun. Buckle up, Lie.
A high school that wants to start a state Club America chapter will be able to do so. There shouldn't be any impediments to that, and certainly no discrimination.
Okay. It's good to know. I appreciate that, Ron. I'm glad you clarified that it's not discriminatory. Your clubs that you support, your Christian National, is bullshit, but clubs that represent the bulk of people who live in that particular county, that is inclusive of everyone, they can't continue to meet because they're told that they're discriminating against others. And even though in the charter of the club, they're not. Good to know. Just want to make sure I got that correct. Just want to make sure people understood exactly what Ron was saying there. It's nice though, right? Great. Fabulous. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning. I'm okay. How are you?
Doing all right. What's on your mind today?
Okay, I have three things. One, a mother came up on, I think, Adam's show a couple weeks ago and was talking about these clubs. And the club was presented to her son as a high school student. And her son and his friends were told it was an I Love America club, after school club. And that when it was advertised to them, there was no association with Turning Point. And she thought, like, okay, it's just some maybe they'll learn like history. And then they went and her son brought the materials home for her and it was all Turning Point. But the parents and the students themselves were not told that that was the situation, that it was anything associated. And she was in not Florida. I don't even remember. Not Florida though. And this was a number of weeks ago. And she said, my son will not be going back. But I have a feeling that is probably how they will be advertised. So if you're a parent, keep an eye out for it because it is not like a history fun thing. It is a Turning Point, total pipeline craziness thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Second, did you see the news came out yesterday about the billionaire that has funded UVM?
I read something about that. I was going to try to do a little bit more research and talk about it tomorrow, but I won't get into it today. That's fine. No problem. Yep.
Okay. Well, I'll skip that one. And then third, so the woman that was speaking before me about clubs churches. I know, like here where we are, the churches do free community breakfasts and meals, and they need donations, and they will take donations that food banks will not take. Like I have chickens, and a food bank will not take my excess eggs, but the churches will. So if you have maybe some things from your garden left, or if you have chickens, things like that, you can take them to the church and they will take it.
That's a really good call out. Dig, I appreciate you. We'll figure out, we're messaging back and forth in Discord. We'll figure out a chance to get together, but I appreciate you for being here and letting us know that. I'll talk to you soon, okay? Be safe out there.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. It's a good call out, right? We mentioned this the other day. Obviously, food banks need our support, but make sure if you want to donate to your local food bank, make sure you're calling them and contacting them and asking them what they need, because in many cases they just may not be able to take what it is that you have. But there's communities, there's churches out there, there's local community centers that do the same thing, that are offering cans of food, non-perishable food items, whatever that might be. So contact your local food banks first before you just shelters. Another good call. And don't forget about pets. Oftentimes socks are one of the most important things that can be donated, especially to houseless shelters. Feminine hygiene products, all these kinds of things that are also things that we should be consider donating. So in advance, contact that. And we're working on something. I think we've got a channel that we're working on to connect the dot from a resources perspective. We're working on that on our mutual aid channel. Another reason to join our Discord. If you guys want to head on over there to find out friends and neighbors and family members who are in need. Appreciate y'all very, very much. Okay, so I certainly want to touch on the church a little bit today, because I think it's related to a lot of what we're talking about here today, right? And how the danger of the indoctrination from this, I don't even know what to call it. We'll call it what it is. But there's a couple of moments from the speech that the president gave yesterday that was just wild. So this was when you lose Newsmax, you've lost the plot. So this was the president just rambling away, and Newsmax cut away.
Some of the yards, we have some great yards. You know, the United States was #1 during World War II, #1 in the world in shipbuilding by far. We would produce a ship a day. Can you believe it? A ship a day, freighters and this and that, but some big ones too, some great warships. And we just let that, our leadership, the person standing right where I am numerous years ago, a number of them, they just let it.
Good morning. You have been watching President Trump address business leaders.
Like Newsmax cuts away the presser. You have to laugh. He's just talking about all kinds of ships. We made ships in one day. We turned out a ship a day. He lost Newsmax. A little bit more rambling from that same presser, or this press junket that he's on now. Again, just the MRI. We'll talk about that more in a minute too.
To report to you that this afternoon, after 4 years of weakness, disaster, really decline, America is back, and it's back stronger than ever before. We're doing numbers that nobody's ever seen before. We're the hottest country in the world, actually, and I say that with...
I'm going to pause there just to remind you that the entire argument around IEEPA, executive authority that the president is using to roll out tariffs that are crippling American industries, right? That is intended to create, like, we're under emergency conditions. I have to use this authority. I have to use this authority under emergency conditions because our country is on the brink. At the same time, he is saying we are the hottest country on earth. $97 gazillion coming in, even though nobody can find this fucking money anywhere. So that's his claim. So here you go.
Report to you that this afternoon, after 4 years of weakness, disaster, really decline, America is back, and it's back stronger than ever before. We're doing numbers that nobody's ever seen before. We're the hottest country in the world, actually, and I say that with other countries represented, and they admit it. but I do say it very proudly. 1 year ago, our country was in very, very serious trouble. Some people thought our country was dead. Now we're literally sort of an inspiration to a lot of other countries. We are indeed, I use the term hottest country, but we're the hottest country anywhere in the world by far. The United States is blessed with right now, the strongest economy, the strongest borders. This all happened over the last 9 months. The strongest military, the strongest friendships, and the strongest spirit of any nation.
U.S. debt has risen 7% since the beginning of the year. According to Pew Research, global standing, 50% of Americans feel weakened internationally. We know the inflation numbers just came out, and inflation's up over 3%. We are pissing off our allies. The global trade war that the United States, at Donald Trump's direction, we are losing exponentially. Other countries are looking for more reliable partners. Other countries are looking to China and another competent supply chain. So that's the rhetoric. They'll play a clip like that on True Social or on Fox News or on Newsmax, and people will hear it. And they'll say, yeah, see that? Trump said it himself. We're the hottest country in the world. We're the hottest. We're the hottest country in the world. And they'll double down on that shit while they're getting fucked. They're literally getting fucking raw dogged. Those same people overwhelmingly vote for the policies that are going to harm them. Largest recipients of SNAP, states that have the highest poverty rates, states that are the biggest recipients of welfare, Medicaid, Medicare services, ACA subsidies, over and over and over again. It is so embarrassing is a good word to say. Embarrassing is a good word to use. You're right, Carrie. You're right, Carrie. MAGA only supports them because they all hate everyone, including themselves. It's kind of true. It's kind of true. It's kind of true. Then conversely, you've got people like AOC. Okay? You can say what you want about AOC, but this is what we talk about in this space all the time, about the problems that we want to solve for everyone. And I think she kind of encapsulates it right here.
To a big difference between someone like Trump and someone like me or someone like Bernie, which is that Trump believes that if you don't vote for him, he doesn't have to be your leader. That if you didn't vote for him, that you don't deserve good things to happen to you. I don't care if someone voted for me or not. I don't care if someone is a Republican or an independent or a Democrat. I don't care if someone likes me or not. That will never change the fact that I'm going to fight for them to have health care. I want MAGA to have health care.
So do I.
I want MAGA to be paid a living wage.
So do I.
But he doesn't want people who are Democrats, or he doesn't want people based on their political affiliation to benefit. And that is the difference between a strongman and an authoritarian and a leader of a democracy.
We've said it a million times, right? And I like this analogy, and somebody messaged me the other day and asked me to remind them what it was. And I love this analogy. There's 100 people standing in front of people on the left, progressives, Democrats, Marxists, socialists, whatever else, ideologically. There's 100 people standing in front of us, and we want to make sure every single one of those people gets to eat, even if one doesn't deserve it. The right, conversely, the same 100 people could be standing in front of them, and they won't feed any of them in case one person doesn't deserve it. It's a fundamental ideological difference that we have. And there's not, as far as I'm concerned, there is no wider gap than that. Basic human necessities. I want every single, I want this to go globally, but I believe that in the most powerful nation on earth, the biggest economy, the access to most resources, the wealthiest nation on earth, I want guaranteed health care for every American citizen. I want guaranteed access to water, shelter, and food. And I know that is so fucking radical. I just want people to understand what we hear from the right. $500 million between the ballroom construction funded by people who obviously have connections to policy, who benefit from it. I think the number is $350 million now, and another $230 million that he wants back from the Department of Justice. American taxpayers are expected to pay that. That's $500 million. Kristi Noem just got approval and funding while the government was shut down for 2 Gulfstream jets, totaling $172 million. That's $670 million. $40 billion that we just sent to Argentina. So now we're at $40.7 billion. And SNAP benefits dry up on Saturday. Seriously. Medicaid, Medicare, across the board. But nothing. It's crazy. Good morning, Mama. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Good. So we're Canadian. We were discussing the ballroom last night. And we're kind of looking at how to, much like you do, educate our friends and family, not only because many of us have friends and family that are American, but so we can look out for these things that led to Trump being elected here as well. So my husband was trying to figure out what the issue with the ballroom really is. And I'm asking because you have better information than me. I thought it was these large donors essentially buying favor with the president, but I'm not sure if that's correct.
Oh, I think that's absolutely what it is.
Okay.
Yep. I think Donald Trump connects. He sees stuff as a sign of wealth. Like if you look at the Oval Office, it's just disgusting. It's gauche. It's just ridiculous. There's talk now of building an arch in D.C. On taxpayer dollars, right? Because he believes there's conversations about him wanting to be on Mount Rushmore, right? It's going to be the Donald J. Trump ballroom. He sees things like that as symbolic to success because his entire game is about branding, right? His entire game is about branding. So he sees the ballroom, not that anybody gives a flying fuck about the ballroom. It's just about what he wants. Right. And he's got, you're absolutely right, private donors across all industries, defense, pharmaceutical, tech, crypto, all kinds of people that are buying influence. That's exactly what they're doing. They're buying influence.
We looked up the list of donors last night, and that was all I could really think of, aside from the fact that he's letting so many core things that Americans need to survive go by the wayside while doing this.
Mm-hmm. Correct. You're right. That's exactly right. That's a good call out. Thank you for not forgetting about us, Canadian neighbors, because we care. We really do. Most of us do care about what's happening here, and don't forget about us. We appreciate you very much.
I'm devastated for y'all. I hate that we're boycotting American products, and it's not to not support Americans. It's to not support him.
Correct. I got it. Thanks for being here today. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me on.
You got it. See you later.
Take care.
People on the right, this is the weird part about this whole thing, right? They see the ballroom and they see the arch and they see conversations about Donald Trump being on meme coins and they see rhetoric regarding about Mount Rushmore. They see these things as great. This is the whole pick me bullshit. Hey, Santana, they talk about, they look at this in terms of, these are things that I will never have myself. So I'm so glad that Donald Trump is doing it, because it speaks to American excellence, American dominance. And that's what they want, right? That's what they want. They just believe that. They believe that a ballroom is a symbol of strength. They believe an arch is a symbol of strength. Drew Eifer, I've sent you a request. You seem to think that I'm not speaking in terms of facts, so maybe you can come up and tell me what I was wrong about. You probably won't, though, because it's easy to hide in the cheap seats. But that's fine. You do you, boo. And I think that entire thing, it's the symbolism, right? So that conversation we listened to earlier about the 10 Commandments being on classroom walls. One, we'd be like, no, because we believe in religious freedom. We don't believe that we're a nation of multiple religions and multiple ethnicities and multiple races and all kinds of things. What the right does is takes that and says, so you're saying you support adultery, or you're saying you support murder? No, that's your pivot. So that's when we get into this ideological debate about why we think it's necessary to keep church and state separated. Yeah, 45 is a weak man's idea of strength. That's exactly right. It's exactly right. So I'm going to bring a couple other people up. Everybody continue to like and share the live. Thank you all very, very much. Don't forget about tapping is clapping, sharing is caring. We've got 1,400 people in here, 250,000 likes. Can we get that to 400K? I'd appreciate that. Good morning, Mark. How are you today? Mark, are you there? Mark? Mark Beish, are you there? Mark?
Yes.
Mark going once?
Hey, how did I get on here?
I don't know. You requested. Did you not want to?
Nah, I was just listening, man.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. You got it. Appreciate you. You too. That happens. I get it. Everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. Oh, boy. Good morning, Drek. How are you today?
Good. I agree that obviously the ballroom thing's a way to just funnel money into these people's pockets, but a little bit of levity. Don't you also think that he just wants to be at Mar-a-Lago all the time? So he's turning the White House into Mar-a-Lago?
I don't give a fuck.
No, I know.
I shouldn't be building them.
I completely agree, obviously, but I really think that, like, from an id level, from his lizard brain, he just wants to never leave Mar-a-Lago. So he's building it in Washington.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. But again, that just speaks to exactly how much of a child he actually is.
Yeah, right, totally. Right.
Yeah. Good call. Appreciate that.
Right.
Thanks a lot. It's a. Why would anybody want to rebuild Mar-a-Lago from gaudy south to gaudy east? I don't know, whatever. Good morning, Matt. How are you today?
Morning, Facts. I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me up. This is my first time on your live. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
But I got to tell you, a second ago, I requested up on your live, and then I wound up on a MAGA live. I don't know how that happens.
Oh, boy.
That was crazy.
That's wild.
Anyway, I'm back. But you were talking about, I always want to ask, the $40 billion to Argentina. What I understand is they don't get it unless his buddy wins the election. Do you know if that's happened?
Yeah, his buddy won the election. Malay.
Oh, so they do get it. So that's kind of election interference, isn't it? That's kind of a threat. Like, if y'all don't vote for him, you don't get it.
Just a bit.
And then they're worried about, Russian interference. Oh,
I know. Yeah. It's like, it's do as we say, not as we do, right?
I swear. Well, the other thing is, they're talking about people not getting paid, the military not getting paid. I'm retired veteran, and I just checked my bank, and I will get my retirement check and my disability. So us retirement folks are getting paid. I guess it's a different pot of money.
I think it is. And thank you for your service, Matt. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think there are money. There's veterans benefits. There's VA benefits. There's Social Security that mandated under law that have to be paid. But so I'm grateful.
So I do get my Social Security check on the third Wednesday of November too, right?
I believe so. I have not heard otherwise. I believe that's the case. It depends, I guess, how deep this is going to go, but we'll see.
Hope so. Because that lady earlier said that her husband was a retired firefighter, and I guess that's different. That's not military money. It's different.
That wouldn't be correct. That wouldn't be federal. That'd be state or city or town or whatever that might be. But thanks for jumping in today. Yeah, thanks for jumping in today, Matt. I appreciate you. You got it, buddy. See you later.
Likewise.
All right, take care. You got it. I'll bring up one more guest for now. I'll try to get to everybody in the chat today. I'll see if I can get everybody in, but I may not get to all of you. I'll do my best, guys.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Long time no see. First, I wanted to say to Mama from Canada, I wanted to tell her that I think that Mr. Ford is everything. Mr. Ford was the first person to really stand up to Trump. I am in love with Ford. He has the fortitude and the fight in him that Trudeau or nobody else had. Ford does not give a damn. I love that about him. Yes, he even gave an apology the other week where he explained the same thing that Mama explained, that he has no issue with American people, that he loves us and adores us, and so does all of Canada. But what he will do is put up the opposition that we cannot. He is fighting for us, and I thought, what a noble thing to do, what a noble thing to say.
I like that. I agree. Okay. I agree.
The next thing I want to say is this. I was reading somewhere about the SNAP benefits, and it said that SNAP was written with the ability to expand exponentially all the time. That's how it's written, as a safety net for people. It said that that's how it's able to cover in the time of storm and crisis and all that, because it has the ability to expand. It also has its own safety net. It has a pot of money where if something should happen and it's not funded or something goes wrong, and it can draw from that money. So there's no reason for this. There is zero reason for people to not be able to be given their benefits, because you have a surplus to draw from. That's
correct. $5 billion. Yes.
Exactly. The other thing I would say is this. I heard, because you have to listen to the slips, because he tells on himself in real time. He said a couple of things. One of the things he said was, you're never going to have to vote again. Another thing he said was how much money they have. Another thing he said is how much money he's getting from tariffs. There was a story a couple of weeks ago, about certain states having monies that were already dispersed to them being pulled out of their coffers. You remember that story?
I do, yes.
Where did that money go?
Don't know.
Exactly. We keep talking about the money that they're taking from us. We keep talking about the money that's coming in for the tariffs, and they keep on spending. They keep on giving money to the ICE people. Where's all that money coming from? Somebody's hiding. There's a sleight of hand that's going on here, and for me, this is just me, one American talking. For me, I believe that there has to be a unified effort. I am a proponent for everybody freezing every single kind of tax. Don't pay the government anything. You don't have to march in the streets so they can target you. You don't have to do that. We can agree. These governors can get together and say, until you do what you're supposed to do, we're going to take every tax dollar and we're going to fund our own SNAP. We're going to fund our own Medicaid. We're not giving you $1. We do have that ability to withhold those funds. I also think that another thing that could be a strategy for us is, at some point, it is my hope and my prayer that the people on the Supreme Court, that somewhere it clicks for them. The world that you're making in this moment is the world that your children are going to have to live in. And your children's children are going to have to live in it. If you have any care for the fabric of democracy, if you have any care for anybody in your lineage, you're going to have to find it in you to have the courage to do the right goddamn thing.
I appreciate you saying that, Jordan. Thank you so much for Jordan's mom. I appreciate you jumping in and sharing. You're right. You're right. You're going to see wholesale changes to our system no matter what. However this ends, you're going to see wholesale changes. And I think what you're calling out are things that people need to reconsider, how they want our country to be and who's going to be responsible for what. But thank you for jumping in today. I appreciate you very much, as always. Talk to you soon. There's been talk, I mentioned this a while ago, about there were New England states and North Atlantic states that were considering creating their own healthcare compact, right? So that they're going to fund it themselves. So people who live in those states could create their own healthcare program, whether it be funded through taxpayer dollars or whatever else. I think you're going to see more and more conversations like that. We know that the economic engines in our country are blue states. It's where the GDP comes from. It's where the brains are. It's where the science is. So if there's they refer to it as a soft secession. It's like, it's one of the few things that we would really celebrate being soft, right? It's a soft secession, economic secession, where we figure out ways to not continue to fund the federal government if they're not using federal government to do things that support the bulk of American taxpayers, because that's what this is about, right? So we have to at least have those conversations to be considered to having those conversations, right? California alone, $90 billion paid to the federal government every single year. And what do we get for that? We get what we're seeing now. We're getting fucking $230 million paid back to the president for what? Because he was investigated? Yeah, MAGA knows soft. You're right about that. Okay, so I'm gonna shift gears a little bit, and I'm gonna play some. This is Kendallanian. There's a new book that's talked about Mike Pence's role on J6, and I'm gonna play that for a minute, just because I want to remind people that we can't forget the events of that particular day. And I got a couple of things I want to talk about. So this is Kendallanian talking, and this is kind of interesting.
This is coming from a new book written by the ABC's correspondent Jonathan Karl, and he's obtained these handwritten notes by Mike Pence of the last phone call that Donald Trump had with Mr. Pence on the morning of January 6th, before Pence was to go preside over the certification of the electoral votes. And remember, Pence had made the decision that he was not going to adopt some cockamamie theory and try to delay the certification. And Donald Trump said, "You'll go down as a wimp," according to these notes. And if this is the case, I made the wrong decision. This sentiment obviously has been well known that Trump felt this way. And there's been, I think he said publicly at the time on social media. And of course, there were later chants of "hang Mike Pence" during the January 6th riot.
Let's be real, that outlines the coup. I mean, it's like, that's evidence of the coup. I mean, I don't, my concern is that history will just be forgotten. And we can't let that history be forgotten, because it is literally a coup. And I don't know how handwritten notes from Mike Pence, final January 6th call, Trump threatened Pence would be seen as a wimp for not certifying, and said, "I made the wrong decision selecting you." It's evidence of a coup. Okay? That's what it was. I mean, a coup against his own government, the ironic part about it, right? So, yeah. Okay. I'm going to so I've focused a little bit today on the religiosity and how we've got Moms of Liberty infiltrating school boards. We've got new ad campaigns from the Department of Labor. In case you're just joining us, there is I'm Facts Steve. Nice to see you all. Appreciate being here. If you haven't joined our team yet, please consider doing so. There's a gifting goal today. Please consider joining our Discord. If you want to support the channel, best way to do that is through crowdfunding at Factsstillmatter, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. Elizabeth, thank you so very, very much. I appreciate you. I will read your petition. Yes, I have to find it. I don't have it handy, but I will certainly do that. So thank you for your kind contribution. Also, thank you to, let's see here. Got that covered. Okay. I'm going to read you, I'm going to play some sound for you from it's a Catholic priest. I read this, and then I heard his comments, and it got me really, really thinking about how much power, we all know this, that organized religion has, especially in our country. But this one in particular kind of stood out to me because of what he said and how he said it. So this is a Catholic priest. I don't know his name, but I'll just play the sound and we'll talk about it.
You cannot be a practicing Catholic and be part of the current Democratic Party knowing that this group is actively working for the killing of the unborn. You cannot be part of a group or an association that's focus is to bring about moral evils. This is why for centuries, the Catholic Church has made it very clear that you cannot be a Freemason, because there are foundational principles of the Freemasons that are contrary to the Catholic faith. You cannot be part of something which is essential to it, moral evils, because you cannot be part of something and not support what is essential to it, picking and choosing what you want, what you like. And you have a moral obligation not to be part of that. There is a moral obligation here not to be part of them, regardless of whatever other good things you might think the Democratic Party is trying to bring about. Murder is a line you cannot cross.
I just want to remind folks of a few things. As somebody who was raised in a Catholic family, an Italian-American Catholic family, the Catholic Church has been embroiled in long-running crises of sexual abuse, particularly child SA by clergy and by other church personnel, and institutional failures to respond appropriately. The issue spans decades, multiple countries, and involves both individual wrongdoings and systemic cover-ups. This is the structure. Historical background. Allegations of sexual misconduct by clergy in the Catholic Church date back many centuries. As far back as the 11th century, for example. In modern times, the problem became widely publicized, starting in the 1980s and especially post-2000 with major investigations. The institutional nature of the church, with celibate clergy, hierarchical authority, strong control of institutions, including schools, parishes, religious orders, created environments in which abuse could occur, be hidden, and then victims forced to remain silent. In the U.S., a major study carried out by John Jay College of Criminal Justice, commissioned by the U.S. Bishops Association, found that approximately 5% of Catholic priests active between 1950 and 2002 had been accused of abuse of a minor. That's 5% that were accused. Okay, that's 5%. Globally, the problem is far larger. For instance, in France, a report estimated at least 220,000 children were abused by clergy between 1950 and 2020. When including lay members of the church, meaning people who were not necessarily leaders in the church, that number jumps to 350,000. A study in Germany also documented widespread abuse by clergy. The cost of the church and legal settlements and liabilities is in the billions of dollars. When abuse allegations surfaced, many dioceses moved accused priests to new parishes or kept them in ministry rather than reporting them to civil rights authorities or removing them altogether. Internal investigations and canonical processes often prioritize protecting the church's reputation over care for the victim. The independent inquiry into CSA, or child sexual abuse, in England and Wales, found persistent failures of leadership and oversight, cultural and structural issues, including power imbalance, clergy to everybody else, secrecy, the notion of clergy as above suspicion, weak accountability to civil law, in many contexts. In the U.S., the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, USCCB, in 2002, adopted the Charter for the Protection of Children and Young People and a zero-tolerance policy for priests who had abused minors. The church globally has taken steps, stronger safeguarding policies, background checks, mandatory reporting in some places, and higher visibility of abuse and cover-ups. Nonetheless, recent scrutiny shows significant gaps remain. For example, a Vatican-commissioned child protection body criticized leaders who failed to act, calling such failures a further source of evil. Many victims feel the responses has been too slow and insufficient. Only a fraction of the perpetrators have been criminally prosecuted or removed altogether. The perception of abuse crisis is still strong. In the U.S., 8 in 10 adults believe recent reports reflect ongoing problems in the church. Transnational and cross-institutional issues complicate accountability. The church's global nature means cases in many countries, some with weak legal enforcement or other cultural barriers. Some argue the root cause, clericalism, lack of accountability, institutional culture, have never been addressed. In short, Catholic Church's history of essay by clergy and its institutional mishandling of allegations represents one of the gravest moral and governmental crises of the modern era for a major religious institution. While significant reforms have been implemented and awareness has increased, many believe that much work remains, both in terms of justice for survivors and structural change. I share that with you because of the bullshit fucking hypocrisy of Catholics. Catholic clergy leaders standing there on their moral fucking high ground, telling women they should not have the rights to their own body, while their institution has been abusing children for centuries. Centuries. And you think, so you're saying you can't be a Democrat and be a Catholic? Okay. Because that's what you stand for. You're going to go up there and you are going to judge others on their morality? And you are in an institution that covers up predators, that protects fucking predators. Watch the movie Spotlight. It covers the Boston Archdiocese and their scandals in Boston, and then that infiltrated. I used to go to church with my family, and I used to go and play basketball after school, and one of the priests in the school was on the list. And yet we're supposed to sit here and listen to that bullshit fucking rhetoric? The entire Christian nationalist, in this case Catholic fucking movement, trying to judge other people, women having rights to their fucking body? And that's a moral outrage when you're abusing fucking kids and hiding it. Abusing children and hiding it. I'll say it again. Abusing children for centuries and covering it up. 5% reported. How big is that number? Every state in America, every state had representation of people who were caught in this big scandal of clergy leaders and or religious leaders and laypersons within the church abusing kids. And you want to fucking sit there and again diminish women and tell them that they're morally bankrupt? Miss me with your fucking bullshit. Miss me with your fucking bullshit. I am so tired. I am so absolutely disgusted by people who want to hide their hatred under their blanket of their fucking faith. I am so disgusted by it. Feed the poor? Yeah, but we can't do that. House the houseless? No, we can't do that. It is unbelievable to me that we have to sit and listen to that fucking nonsense. Joel Osteen could open up his fucking doors. He could write a fucking check right now. Why won't he do it? Kenneth Coleman, isn't that his name? The guy who's got multiple jets, who brags about it. Every fucking snake oil salesman televangelist and their fucking bullshit. Give me a fucking break. Why aren't you opening your doors on a Sunday and offering the houseless people in your community a chance to come in and eat? Nope. Kenneth Copeland, thank you. And we're going to listen to that fucking bullshit? We're going to listen to this?
You cannot be a practicing Catholic and be part of the current Democratic Party knowing that this group is actively working for the killing of the unborn. You cannot be part of a group or an association that's focus is to bring about moral evils. This is why for centuries, the Catholic Church has made it very clear that you cannot be a Freemason, because there are foundational principles of the Freemasons that are contrary to the Catholic faith.
Enough. I mean, I've made it very, very clear in this space that you are free. It is my belief that you should be free to practice whatever religion that you choose. That's what I believe. The issue that I have is the fucking pathetic hypocrisy. the same group of people who don't necessarily practice what they preach have been told for centuries that they are the ones looking out for the weak, looking out for the poor, looking out for the tired, looking out for the shelterless. And this is all we fucking get. Every day. Every day. I've seen interviews with Caroline Leavitt, perfect example. Pam Bondi, perfect example. They're crossed around their fucking neck, diminishing people at every chance they get. We've seen prominent voices on the right hiding under their blanket of their bullshit, saying that the poor they're bilking the system, or that women who are victims of rape should just have the baby because every life matters. Right. Yeah, that tracks. Polly Boy, how are you today?
I'm good.
What's on your mind? You just muted. Sorry.
Let's see. What do you think about The Guardian? Are they a good?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they lean a little bit right, but they do. Let me give you the media bias fact check on it. Hold on a second.
Sure.
I can tell you exactly how they score.
By the way, were your dreams sweet?
One more time.
Were your dreams sweet? You were told sweet dreams at the end of the night last night.
Oh. Yes, sweet dreams. They lean left, but they lean left, sure, because everybody has bias, but they're also rated very high for factual reporting.
Mine are busy as fuck. I can't remember them because there's so much shit in there. Guardian had a headline today: Romania wants Abu Dhabi to give them this dude who was a French foreign legionnaire, and the charges are conspiracy, which is it's election interference, trying to get a coup going, and he wants to get asylum in Russia.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me.
No.
Yep.
But news of the day headline.
Yeah. Thanks for jumping in, Paulie. I appreciate you, man.
Sure.
Thanks
Talk
for being
to you
here.
more later. Bye.
You got it. See ya. Yeah. So again, I'm just disgusted every single day by the people that just claim their faith and that Donald Trump is a man of God. They are protecting fucking predators. They are protecting predators. The Catholic Church, one of the most coordinated organizations that preyed on young boys and girls. And a Catholic priest wants to tell you you're morally bankrupt because you vote for fucking human rights? Because you vote for, protecting the people that they claim to care about? Yeah, that fucking tracks. That fucking tracks. Yep, absolutely, that tracks. Hi, Lizzie. How are you today?
Good, I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Thanks for being here. What's on your mind?
Well, thank you. I just wanted to give everyone just some ideas and tips that they can go to their local shelters, homeless shelters, women and children shelters, churches, and donate canned goods and rice, beans, stuff like that. Feeding America, there's like over 200 locations across the state. So you can just Google and look where you can go and donate anything that you may have, look in your pantry. A lot of people are going to lose their SNAP WIC benefits, and I figure that's some small way we could help our communities out. Excuse me.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, about making sure if you're going to donate to a food bank that you're contacting the food bank in advance to find out what it is that they need. and save them having to move it to some other facility. But I think it's a great call. There's all kinds of community organizations. You'll see donation boxes outside of grocery stores. A lot of small independent grocers are doing those kinds of things. So yeah, it's good. It's a good tip. It's a good reminder.
Yeah, just a quick reminder. And I'm asking people at work to bring stuff in too. So at your jobs, you can ask people. So whatever we can do. So I just wanted to bring it up. Sorry I missed it earlier.
That. It's okay. I appreciate that. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you very much.
Thanks, Steve. You have a great day.
You too. See you later. It's again another reminder. But just for people my age, in many cases, the church was like the center of many communities. Growing up, in southern Vermont, western Massachusetts, right? Especially this town called North Adams, Massachusetts. If you've ever been there, there's churches everywhere. This small little town. A lot of the houses were stacked up on streets that went up these hillsides. It looked like parts of Italy, quite frankly. And we get just this absolute just bullshit rhetoric. Big Meech, do you have an issue? Or you're just going to hide in the comments because you're too afraid to request to come up? You have a lot in your mind, but I understand. I understand. I'd be embarrassed to speak publicly too if I were you. But anyway, you get this rhetoric that comes from that particular community, and they claim others are being indoctrinated while they're indoctrinating their flock. Literally. Every day. That's what they do. They've created this perception, right? That if you oppose them, then you are either anti-American, anti-faith, anti-humanity, because words matter. Words matter, right? And you people are in this cycle of oppositional language, saying, like, if you say, I don't support the 10 Commandments being put in classrooms, their response is, so you support adultery? You support murder? No, I don't support any of those things. I just don't want the 10 Commandments, which is preferential to a particular religion, to be in a taxpayer-funded building. Period. It's not that difficult. That's the response. They don't see it that way. Those same people who constantly want to denigrate marginalized communities won't do a goddamn thing to help those communities. I've read you guys the pro-life, the March for Life poems before. How gut-wrenching that is. You don't give a fuck about the kid after it's born. None of you do. You don't fucking care. You don't give a shit. Especially if that child happens to be of brown skin, or if that child has a disability. You don't give a fuck about any of them. You want control over women's bodies. Period. You don't give a shit. You do not fucking care about any of them. You attempt to conform to this belief that you've been indoctrinated into, that the patriarchy is the way to go, and you cheer for it. And you live in an environment, you're oppressed at home. Many of you have a son and a daughter, and in your worldview, your son has more rights than your daughter does. And you want to have those conversations with your children to say, son, you're the king of the castle. It's your way or the highway. Daughter, it's your job to listen to your man. You all prescribe to the no-fault divorce theory. You guys just don't give a flying fuck about women's rights. You don't fucking care. You don't care about the poor. You don't care about the infirmed. You don't care about the disabled, which are, by the way, the fundamental elements of your entire belief set about being there to support those who need support. You don't give a shit about any of them. You don't care about any of them. None of them. Every single fucking day, we hear more about it. And the Christian nationalists that you have in power now, the ones that you say are looking out for you, they don't give a fuck about you either. Because this is what they see. This is what they want you to see. Again, for those of you just joining us, this is a new ad campaign from the United States Department of Labor. this is what they see. This is white Christian nationalism on full fucking display. Here it is. Here it is. Here's the church above everything. Here's the nuclear family attending church together. Strong white men. You don't care. Just from our perspective, we know you don't care. Many of you have come around now. Many of you have started to say, yeah, I'm a Christian nationalist, full blown. Yeah, that's how I feel. Like, I don't give a fuck about women. I don't care about the poor, about fucking poor people. I don't give a shit. So wouldn't it just be a lot easier if you just admitted it? Yeah, this is the Department of Labor's new ad campaign. Yeah. Yep. What am I checking here? Okay, let me just double check something real quick. Yeah, Eden, I saw your comment. Yep. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate that. Who pays for the ad campaign? Who do you think pays for it? Taxpayer dollars pay for this shit. I mean, look at this. Here's some of the close-ups. And for those of you who just joining us, this was from 1930s era Germany. It's by design to diminish you. This is what we're fighting for. This is in 2025. Look at this idyllic image. Warm tones, right? Smiles on faces. Kids being indoctrinated in the church. Dad, the king of the castle. Mom supposed to stay home and do nothing. Other than breed, right? Just to be the incubator. Yeah, exactly. Blondes, good call out. Blonde hair, against by design, right? Here's the idyllic image of the white picket fence in America. Who's at the top? What's the umbrella? Right. Again, that image itself is built to convey what? Think about it. What is that image right there built to convey? You can have all these things. You can have the beautiful home with your very, very white family as long as you do what the church tells you to do, because the church is above everyone and everything else. Exactly. Okay. Where do I want to go next? Okay, so if there's every once in a while, we get some good news. Every once in a while, we get things that happen in our system, the current system that we have, that kind of puts things into perspective a little bit, realizing that we do have a system in place that is supposed to protect us from these kinds of things. And a lot of it has been the judiciary, right? Not including the Supreme Court. I'm talking about low-level judges, lawyers, courts. So there's reporting out of, let me see if I can find this person's name. Bilal Asali was appointed as acting U.S. Attorney on April 2nd of this year for the Central District of California, covering Los Angeles, Ventura, Santa Barbara, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, and San Luis Obispo counties, roughly 20 million residents. The appointment was made by Pam Bondi under U.S. Code 546, an interim appointment by the Attorney General rather than by Senate confirmation. Before that, he served as a federal prosecutor in that office in LA and Riverside from October 2014 to February 2018, covering violent and organized crime, bank fraud, securities fraud, and other white-collar matters. A federal judge just ruled that he was not lawfully serving as acting U.S. attorney because his appointment had exceeded the 120-day limit without Senate confirmation or a court appointment of a successor. The court ruled that he could not use the acting U.S. attorney title, but he may remain as first assistant U.S. attorney and continue performing the duties of the office. The ruling did not invalidate certain indictments he'd overseen, the judge held that the prosecutions themselves were not tainted by his appointment. I say that because we've seen other examples. I think Alina Habba was appointed under the same conditions, had to have 120 days. U.S. attorneys are cabinet-level appointment positions. So that is good news. That is people that are paying attention, saying that you can't just do this. If you want to do this, you've got to run it through Senate confirmation. Funny that the people that have been removed never got Senate confirmation. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe because they wouldn't pass. Alina Habba, former parking garage lawyer, is suddenly going to be a U.S. attorney. This guy who's got really sort of conflicting interests for sure, he can't do it. He's not allowed to do that either. He's not allowed to be in that position. So, yeah. This is what we're talking about here. We're always looking for these unexpected angels, right? And we're going to start to bring that back on Fridays. We're going to include in our Free Speech Friday elements of some good news. You know, we don't always like to have to talk about this kind of stuff, but if we don't talk about it, who's going to? But I'll remind people that there are people that are out there that are doing the work to try to push back, whether they be community activists or volunteers or fucking teachers every day, nurses every day, right? We're gonna recognize them. We're gonna spend a chunk of time on Fridays now talking about some of the unexpected angels that exist out there that are doing the work. So this is kind of stuff that is good news that people are paying attention. We don't know where it's gonna go. Are they going to attempt to cabinet appoint? Are they going to appoint somebody else and let them ride the wave of 120 days? The reason it's important is because people like this are prosecuting cases without evidence in many cases. Now, another example is I played this story for you guys a while back. That was that 60-minute interview. And Mr. Ravaney, who left the DOJ, he went public for the first time on this interview with 60 Minutes. So this is an element of that interview that I'd forgotten, specifically around Abrego Garcia. So this is very, very telling, and it speaks to a lot. And I'm going to read you some more information from our DOJ because they're incompetent and corrupt about how they had to apologize for information that they submitted to justify National Guard deployment in Portland, and then said, "Oh yeah, like we didn't." Yeah, that was wrong. We lied about that, basically. So here's the sound from this.
By mistake. Normally, people deported in error are returned, but instead, Ravaney says that in a phone call from a superior, he was ordered to argue against Abrego Garcia's return by telling a judge that Abrego Garcia was an MS-13 gang member and a terrorist.
And I respond up the chain of command. No way. That is not correct. That is not factually correct. It is not legally correct. That is a lie. And I cannot sign my name to that brief.
You're not saying Abrego Garcia is a choir boy. You're just saying that no one had managed to prove that he was a terrorist.
Here's the really important thing here. Whether Mr. Abrego Garcia is or isn't a member of MS-13 or a terrorist or anything else is beside the point. What matters here is that they did everything they did to him in violation of his due process rights. What's to stop them if they decide they don't like you anymore? To say you're a criminal, you're a member of MS-13, you're a terrorist. What's to stop them from sending in some DOJ attorney at the direction of DOJ leadership to delay, to filibuster, and if necessary, to lie? And now that's you gone, and your liberty changed.
After refusing to sign the brief that called Abrego Garcia a terrorist.
So, I'd like to play a hypothetical game with our MAGA friends. So one of the things that Tom Homan and Pam Bondi and Kristi Noem have talked about are identifying characteristics, justification for detaining people. They've talked about where they hang out, who they are affiliated with, what they look like. All these kinds of things that they said would be identifying characteristics for illegally detaining some people, in many cases American citizens. So here's the hypothetical. Under a liberal Democratic president, with Democrats appointed to leadership positions in the DOJ, with Democrats appointed to positions in Department of Homeland Security, ICE agencies, things like that. So a MAGA hat would be an identifying characteristic. A group of trucks parked together with truck nuts shining in the sun could be an identifying characteristic. The groups in which you affiliate and associate with could be an identifying characteristic. So under your belief set, that's fair game. That's fair game. You can be labeled a domestic terrorist because of your affiliations, because of your, identifying characteristics. Is that the way you want to play? Is that the way that you want to play? So you guys never think things through. And you don't expect a response like this. So if you get a knock on your door under a Democratic administration with a masked ICE agent or a masked law enforcement professional, and you get zip-tied and disappeared, you can shut the fuck up about it. You can shut the fuck up about it. You'll claim due process rights. We'll be like, you don't get them. We've decided you don't get them. You're a threat. You don't get them. I'm a citizen. I don't believe you. You're lying. Those tattoos indicate your participation and or being part of a gang. No, they're my children's names. No, they're not. They're distinctive characteristics that would allow you to be identified as a potential threat. That's what you and your belief set has created. That is the world fueled by your hatred towards brown people. That's the world that you've created. Tom Homan's own words. Many things we can use. Identifying characteristics. A MAGA hat's a pretty solid identifying characteristic. What's your online community look like? Are you a member of the Proud Boys? Member of the Three Percenters? You a member of the Oath Keepers? Patriot Front? Guilty by association, right? Another identifying characteristic. Who you hang out with. Where you hang out. What does your social media history look like? Trump flags. Yeah. Color of your skin. Oh my goodness. You could also use the color of your skin. That could be an identifying characteristic. You've got a red hat on and you're a white boy, a mediocre white boy. Guess what? You're a threat. Zip tied, disappeared. See ya. If that were to happen, and I don't want that to happen because I believe in due process. I can tell you one thing. If that were to happen, our country would get a hell of a lot smarter immediately. Immediately. Wild, right? So wild. And safer too. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You're up early.
Always. I have little one. Well, not so little, but they're
That's
early
true.
risers. So, yes. So I know I'm kind of jumping backwards back to the SNAP situation, but I wanted to see if anybody has clarification because I've heard that even if you have funds beyond November 1st, you cannot use them because the program itself will be frozen. My dad was texting me this morning asking me if he's even going to have benefits. And then I just saw someone in the comments say that they got their daughter got a notification that the cards are frozen as of like right now. So do we have clarification on that? Because I'm on the USDA website and I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted at what I see right here.
I don't know the answer to that, Michelle. We might be able to we can maybe check in with our friend Crow since he works in that space. I don't know the answer to that. I've been marching towards the November 1st deadline. Like if your card's been loaded with your funds that are available to you for the month of October, if they run out, they run out. What I've been told is that they're not going to be recharged, so to speak, as of the 1st of November. That's what I'm operating under right now. I don't know anything beyond that. We can try to find a more definitive answer. Probably a good idea.
Okay, yeah, that would be great because I've heard that same exact situation. And then I've also heard, well, even if you have money left over from October, it will not work in November. So I'm conflicted here with all that. But have you seen the USDA's website? What they have up?
Yeah, I saw that. We also referenced 2 states, Massachusetts and Pennsylvania, who use their own pettiness to say MAGA Republicans, the Donald Trump Republican government shutdown is going to deny citizens of our state the ability to have their SNAP benefits.
Good.
So,
Fight
yeah.
back. We have to.
Yeah,
This is disgusting.
it's the best we can do.
Disturbing.
It's the best we can do. I'll try to find an answer for you, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it. And you said Crow would know, right?
He would definitely know. I mean,
Okay.
if anybody in our community would know, it would be him.
Okay. I can reach out to him too then. I didn't know if it had been addressed or not. So, but thank you. I appreciate your time.
As always. Talk to you soon. All right, take care. All right,
You too.
bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm not done with my bitch yet. I'm certainly not done with him. I am going to play some sound from elected officials who are really starting to, who had it with Mike Johnson. So this is Rep. John Garamendi. He is just like over the bullshit from Mike Johnson. Here's a little sound. We're going to dunk on him in a little bit more.
He's continuing to do anything he damn well pleases, regardless of the law, regardless of Congress, regardless of the Constitution. He's simply usurping power, continuing to be a dictator. And where is our democracy? Where is the Congress? Are we holding them to account? Are we doing anything?
Christina?
No, we're not even in session. Come on, Speaker Johnson. Are you simply a puppet? And Trump is the puppeteer here, and you're obeying him rather than your task, your constitutional task, your oath of office. I've had it with Johnson. He's just spineless. He is not doing his job.
Yeah. Here's a little bit more. This is Rep. Adam Smith. Hang on a second.
Speaker Johnson has basically decided to dissolve the United States House of Representatives. I've never seen this before. We've had shutdowns before. Every shutdown I've ever been in, we've stayed in session, number one. And number two, we've aggressively negotiated with all parties involved to try to resolve it. Speaker Johnson, following Donald Trump's lead, has said basically, no, we don't need to talk to Democrats. They have to accept what we're telling them to accept. And the problem with that is to pass this particular budget piece, the appropriations piece, or a continuing resolution, they need Democratic votes. They need at least 7 Democratic votes in the Senate. So to say, no, we're not going to negotiate with you. You have to accept the Republican budget. I mean, that is a very dangerous and completely incorrect approach. Democrats are not going to vote for a pure Donald Trump Republican budget because he's put together the most extreme partisan budget that I've ever seen. You know, massive cuts to healthcare, massive cuts to food security, massive increases to ICE and the Department of Defense, massive tax cuts for the wealthy. That's going to drive millions of people off of health insurance and drive up the cost of healthcare. And also he's driving up the cost of energy by canceling programs, energy programs, clean energy programs all across the country, and basically saying, I will cut programs from Democratic states and fund Republican states, and you Democrats have to vote for it. Well, we don't.
Yeah. No notes. And what's really, really interesting in this entire discussion about federal funding is that the bulk of federal money that goes to the federal government comes from blue states. They are donor states, by and large. More money goes to the feds to pay for programs in red states, okay, than red states. Red states are recipients of federal dollars. We've done that breakdown. A large majority of red states are paying less to the federal government than they are getting back. So the question is, what do we do? What do we do about that? Congress, the United States House of Representatives, have worked, I think it's 70 days since July. Something like that. That's it. 70? I'm not even sure if that, I could have had that completely wrong. Maybe it's 20, they've worked 20 days, whatever. They're not scheduled to come back. There's no calendar. There's nothing on the calendar. There was supposed to be some sort of vote, but that would require Mike Johnson to open up the government. So when are they going to open up the government? When are the Republicans going to open up the government because they can do it? When? When are the Christians, the pro-life Christians, going to open up the government so that children don't starve? Yeah, you might be right, Bruce. It might be 17 days. It's 22 days since July. There you go. When? When are the MAGA Republicans, the MAGA Republican government shutdown, when are they going to open the government so that military families can get paid without anonymous donors flipping money their way? When? So when are we going to get the discharge? Oh, you don't want... Oh, I get it. No, it's not a democratic shutdown. It's not. When? I want to know when. I want to know when the MAGA Republican government shutdown is going to end. Shizload, I just sent you an invite. I don't think you'll come up and talk to me, though, because you can't defend it. And that's the problem. And you don't want to learn anything. You just want to sit in the chat. So if you want to try to prove your point, then just accept my invite. And we can talk about it. And I can prove to you that it's the MAGA Republican government shutdown. I can prove it. And it won't take me very long. It'll take me like 10 seconds. But you won't come up. I don't know why. Maybe you will, but I doubt it. Another issue that we're dealing with that probably doesn't get reported very much is the situation off the coast of Venezuela. When drug boats are just being indiscriminately taken out. These are war crimes, okay? So Rand Paul has been doing the round on this, right? Over and over again. And he's been great. He's been consistent. He's been consistent on this. He'll still throw his partisan bullshit in there, but he's been very consistent on this. Okay? So he's on with Piers Morgan recently. And I'm not going to give Piers Morgan any credit, but I just want you to hear the interview because he's right.
And then moving to the issue of these Venezuelan boats being attacked, the administration's position is clear that they think they're dangerous terrorists representing a direct threat to the lives of Americans, and that's why they're doing it. What is your objection to the way they're executing this strategy?
Well, we have dangerous people in a lot of American cities, but we just don't go in and shoot them. I mean, we have trials, they get legal representation, and even on the high seas, it's been that way for generations. If you go off the coast of Miami, the Coast Guard will be stopping boats today, and about 25% of the boats that they stop, that they're suspicious of drugs, there won't be any drugs on board. So 25% of the time the suspicion is wrong, and that's why we don't shoot and just blow up boats off of Miami, but neither should we be blowing them up off the coast of Venezuela. Number one, there is no fentanyl made in Venezuela. Not just a little bit, there's none being made in Venezuela. These are outboard boats that, in order for them to get to Miami, would have to stop and refuel 20 times. They're in all likely going to Trinidad and Tobago, which is an island right off of the coast of Venezuela. So there's a lot of reasons to be worried about this. But number one is the broader principle of when can you kill people indiscriminately? When you're at war. That's why when we declare war, it's supposed to be done by Congress. Correct. It's supposed to be thoughtful. Correct. It's supposed to be debated.
Correct.
We're not supposed to do it willy-nilly.
Correct.
And then when you have war, you just kill people in the war zone. And even then there are rules of engagement. But interdicting drugs has always been a criminal activity and a criminal anti-crime sort of activity where we don't just summarily execute people. We actually present evidence.
Yeah. So I just... These same people who are in support of this thinks that Donald Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize. The F drug, not made in Venezuela. It's not made there. These are indiscriminate, unjustified unalivings at the hands of the United States military. These are fucking war crimes because what they're talking about is regime change. The Trump administration wants access to Venezuelan oil. We've already destabilized their countries numerous times. Massive influx of immigration at the southern border. What the fuck do you think is going to happen? What the fuck do you think is going to happen when the United States military puts boots on the ground in Venezuela? You don't think it's coming? It's coming. The Congress can declare war. Period. Full stop. If you want to make the claim that these smug boats are a threat, then justify it. Justify it. You can't, because you won't. Because you're hypocrites. You don't give a shit about the rule of law. You don't fucking care. This is about revenge. This is about redemption. This is about a wealth grab. This is about the transfer of wealth. That's what this is about. And they do not give a shit about whatever happens is going to happen. And they're going to flex. And we have Pete fucking Hegseth in charge at the Department of Defense, because I refuse to call it the Department of War. This was Pete Hegseth a few years ago when Megyn Kelly was still on Fox. This is Pete Hegseth just before he became a more prominent voice on Fox. This is a panel that he's sitting on, and boy, have times changed.
It's typical Trump. All bluster, very little substance. He talks a tough game, but then when pressed on it, he's an armchair tough guy. I hate to say it, but this is a guy who said that John McCain is not a war hero, yet he sought his own 5 military deferments.
Wow. What was that again, Pete?
It's typical Trump. All bluster, very little substance. He talks a tough game, but then when pressed on it, he's an armchair tough guy. I hate to say it, but this is a guy who said that John McCain is not a war hero, yet he sought his own 5 military deferments. Yeah, it's funny how, the internet exists and we can find sound bites all over the place. Pete. You know what, Pete? I've given Mike Johnson enough love. Pete, starting tomorrow, you are my new bitch. So buckle up, okay? I prefer smooth skin, so make sure that you clean properly, and then we'll have our conversation around Pillow Talk. But starting tomorrow, Pete, you're my new bitch. Okay? Cool. Just as a reminder, again, about what we're dealing with. You're going to hear from Benny Johnson. You're also going to hear from Mike Davis. Mike Davis is a lawyer who is being floated for a potential role as U.S. AG. So Benny Johnson is interviewing him, and I just want to remind people, again, what we are fighting against and what we are attempting to stand up, the rights of others that we're standing up for in opposition to this bullshit.
Lava to rain down from the heavens, but maybe upon Washington, D.C. Would you be that sweet red hot lava for us?
I've never been called sweet, and you call me Sweet Ginger. So I think I meant then. During my 3-week reign of terror as Trump acting attorney general, before I get chased out of town with my Trump pardon, I will rain hell on Washington, D.C. Number 3, we're going to deport. We're going to deport a lot of people, 10 million people and growing, anchor babies, their parents, their grandparents. We're going to put kids in cages. It's going to be glorious.
We're going to put kids in cages. It's going to be glorious.
We're going to detain a lot of people in the D.C. Gulag and Gitmo. And list number 5, I'm going to recommend a lot of pardons. Every January 6th defendant is going to get a pardon, especially my hero, Horn Man. He is definitely at the...
Called for lava.
Yep, that guy. That guy was on the short list of becoming the United States Attorney General. His name is Mike Davis. That guy who was, again, was considered to be the United States Attorney General. Here's the sound again.
To rain down from the heavens. But maybe upon Washington, D.C., would you be that sweet red hot lava for us?
I've never been called sweet, and you call me sweet ginger. So I think I meant then. But during my 3-week reign of terror as Trump acting attorney general, before I get chased out of town with my Trump pardon, I will rain hell on Washington, D.C. Number 3, we're going to deport. We're going to deport a lot of people, 10 million people and growing, anchor babies, their parents, their grandparents. We're going to put kids in cages. It's going to be glorious.
We're going to put kids in cages. It's going to be glorious. And tens of millions of Americans are going to cheer that shit on. We're going to put kids in cages, and it's going to be glorious. His name is Mike Davis. He was on the short list to become the United States Attorney General. Thank you, Laverne. Yeah. Thank you to A and CD. Thank you very much for your donation on Cash App. Appreciate you very much. Ruby, thank you so very, very much. Elizabeth, I think I got you. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity. I think I got everybody. Nancy, thank you so much for your kindness and your generosity as well. I appreciate that. Okay. A few more other things I want to play. This is this goes back to the building of the ballroom before he left on his trip to overseas. We're going to talk about the potential of the meeting that's on the schedule with Xi Jinping. They're probably meeting now, as a matter of fact, but I'll get into that in just a second. But he triggered when he was asked about the ballroom. Shocker, because he's a fucking baby. But here you go.
Response to people who say that you haven't been transparent enough about this.
I haven't been transparent?
That some of your critics...
So he's being pressed by reporters to say, you haven't really been transparent about these donors. Good reporting found out who the donors were. Listen to this.
I've shown this to everybody that would listen. Third-rate reporters didn't see it because they didn't look. You're a third-rate reporter.
Attack the press.
Always have been.
Right.
So third-rate reporters didn't look, but anybody that asked, these pictures have been in newspapers. They've been all over the place, and you know we're very proud of it. It's gotten great reviews. It's gotten really great reviews. So.
Right.
Your response to people.
So again, there's been all we've seen are pictures. That's it. Just seeing pictures of the ballroom. That's it. Just pictures. No plans. No construction permits. No idea. None of it. Who's giving it great reviews? None of it. It's not seen any of that shit. But that's fine. Nothing to see here. Let's keep the pressure on. So this is some reporting regarding some of the statements that the president has made about inflation.
Now to a repeated claim from President Trump.
As you know, groceries are down. It's all down.
Groceries are down.
Because our groceries are down. Grocery prices are way down. Prices are way down. Groceries are down. Everything's down.
And of course, you guys know, because you're the smartest head on TikTok, what the right believes. Because he tells them that they could be standing at the gas pump. Gas prices are down because they always come down. Gas prices are down 2 cents since October of last year, by the way. 2 cents, national average, according to the EIA. Okay, and gas is always cheaper in October than it is in July. And we can talk about what OPEC's doing, flooding the market right now, driving gas prices down, putting domestic oil producers out of business, just like what happened in 2020, 2022. Okay, we know that. Anyway, when it comes to grocery store prices, we know what the reality is, but his followers will just be like, well, he told me. Well, you just paid $7 more than you paid 2 weeks ago. Doesn't matter. Trump told me the prices are lower. You lib turd. Don't you understand? There's a method to his madness. Okay.
So frequently repeated, those clips are just from the past 2 weeks alone. But what are the facts? Newly released inflation data shows that grocery prices are actually up again last month and have been on the rise since President Trump took office in January. The average price of groceries rose 0.3% from August to September. On average, grocery prices are about 1.4% higher than in January when President Trump took office. And they're 2.7% higher than they were at this point last year. And we can break it down even further because every category of groceries has seen price increases over the last year. Most shockingly, coffee, which is up 18.9%, as well as beef and veal, up 14.7%. Now, economists say it's normal for grocery prices to rise over time, but we need to point out that two of President Trump's signature policies, his tariffs on imported goods such as coffee, and his crackdown on illegal immigration, which impacts many workers, especially in the agricultural industry, are certainly contributing to the spike, according to economists. Turn now to a repeated...
So, once again, we go back to the things that we were told. Millions of Americans were sold a bill of goods. No new wars. We have the United States Navy off the coast of Venezuela. We have Israel not abiding by the ceasefire, obviously. We now have troop movement apparently in Ukraine, pulling back a little bit, giving Russia more access to Ukrainian territory, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Sending United States military to American cities. National Guard deployment to American cities. Got all that. Promises about all of that kind of stuff. And the biggest of all, because it's always about the economy, stupid, is to lower prices. And not only have prices not been lowered, prices are increasing across the board. And it's just going to get worse. The dollar's being manipulated because the experts, and I'm not an economist, but the dollar's being manipulated. And the experts are saying that the inflation rates are significantly higher than that, but the dollar's being devalued. And who stands to gain from that, friends? You know the answer. Show me what? Show me the fucking money. It's the same cycle over and over and over and over again. Prices are going up for food. Food benefits, SNAP benefits are being cut. People are losing their health care. For those who stay in the ACA, premiums across the board are going up 30%, okay? Because the prices go up every single year, 30%. You add the subsidies, or you remove the subsidies from that, and we're talking about 100, 200% increases in many cases. It's crazy. Yeah, and then True Social is now a betting site. Thank you for sharing that. You can now place prop bets on election results. When, mediocre white men, are you going to wake the fuck up and understand what is happening? We've been telling you from the get-go. I want to go back to something I said. We're talking about the ballroom. They see the ballroom as this shining symbol of success. They literally see that as something that is important to them. Like they care about the ballroom and then the arch that he wants to build in DC too. Like what? Why the fuck do you care? Why the fuck do you care about a fucking ballroom? And then they're going to say, well, why do you care? I care because he's spending $300 million. He's getting gifts, as he claims, to pay for it from people who are gaining access to people who are benefiting from the tax breaks. Amazon, one of those companies that invested in this thing, Bezos' name is on the ledger for a company that's invested in the ballroom, just cut 30,000 jobs to be replaced by AI. What does that do? Increases his fucking profits. Do you understand? Do you fucking get it? For years, all we fucking heard from you fucking idiots was about the deep state and about the swamp. Do you understand that the ballroom is being built on top of the fucking swamp? Do you understand that the companies that you complained about the largest are now cutting jobs? You were promised that jobs would be coming back to America. You were promised that. You believed it. You said tariffs are going to save the day. The tariffs are going to revolutionize our economy. We're not going to need income tax, blah, fucking blah. Your prices are going up because of tariffs. Jobs are being lost because of tariffs. The people that you complained about that being the deep state are funding the ballroom, are getting advantaged by tax breaks from this administration, and they are now cutting thousands of jobs to be replaced by AI and automation, thus driving our economy further into a pit. And who stands to fucking gain? The people at the fucking top. You bitched and moaned about the price of housing and the price of rent. You yet support an administration that continues to deregulate the fucking industry so that people like BlackRock and large investment firms and deep-pocketed VC firms buy up all the fucking real estate. Do you think they're going to put it back in the market so that you can buy it? Fuck no. But you can blame Joe Biden. Sure, go ahead. Do you understand what I spend 4 hours a day trying to tell you? They are raw dogging your fucking ass, and you seem to enjoy it. I'm not going to judge your kink. You do you. But do you understand what's happening? Do you get it? Do you generally believe that Donald Trump should win the Nobel Peace Prize? For what? Why do we have warships off the coast of Venezuela? Didn't you care about that? Didn't you care about that? Didn't you care? Didn't you want no more money spent on foreign wars? But yet you'll cheer this on? Why? Tell me why. Tell me why that is. Every fucking day you complained about corruption, and it's right in front of your fucking face, and you don't give a shit about it. You genuinely don't fucking care. I've got some sound that I'm going to play from James Comer because he's now showing up. He's been in hiding for quite a while. He's on the, I guess you could say the front line of the oversight committee's investigation into the Epstein files. Okay, like really? So this is what James Comer had to say. Do I have that sound here? I think somewhere. I have a lot of fucking things that I'm not going to get to today, but I will do my best. Yeah. Okay, hold on a second. Okay. So I want you to listen to this, right? I want you to listen to this because this to me tells you everything you need to know about the Republican Party politics these days, okay? Here we go. Jake Tapper is interviewing James Comer.
But I want to ask you one more thing before you go, as long as I have you, because you're chairman of the Oversight Committee. Right. There's a Reuters report today on the Trump family's crypto ventures. Based on the family's own financial disclosures, Reuters found the Trump organization's income from the first half of this year shot from $51 million to $864 million. About $800 million of that is from crypto. And the story details how most of the buyers are foreign investors and how all this money is going to belong to Trump when he leaves office. Is this something that you're going to look into at all?
Well, it's something that we are, like you, reading about this. We're trying to digest it. The difference between the way the Trump family's operating and the Biden family is you.
What about Biden? Hey, James, you know what? You might be my bitch. James, he didn't ask you about Biden's. He asked you if you're going to investigate the current sitting president since you are on the fucking Oversight Committee, you fucking dumbass. How the Trump family's wealth has increased from their investments into this particular crypto venture has gone from $50 million in January to nearly $1 billion now. He asked you, are you going to investigate the current president? He didn't ask you about Biden. This is what he asked you. Here you go again. I want to ask you
one more thing before you go, as long as I have you, because you're chairman of the Oversight Committee. Right. There's a Reuters report today on the Trump family's crypto ventures. Based on the family's own financial disclosure, Reuters found the Trump organization's income from the first half of this year shot from $51 million to $864 million. About $800 million of that is from crypto. And the story details how most of the buyers are foreign investors and how all this money is going to belong to Trump when he leaves office. Is this something that you're going to look into at all?
Well, it's something that you...
Fair question. Is this something you're going to look into at all? He didn't reference Joe Biden. Your job on oversight is to provide oversight over the executive branch and other agencies within the government. That is your fucking job. Okay?
We are, like you, reading about this. We're trying to digest it. The difference between the way the Trump family's operating and the Biden family is they're admitting they're doing this. The president.
They're admitting that they're being corrupt? See, James, you're not very smart, my guy.
The president campaigned as a business guy. I'm not defending the policy. I think there need to be ethics reforms, and I had a bill.
Then investigate it. You're on oversight. If you think there should be ethics reforms, then why are you not investigating it?
that Jamie Raskin killed last session because he thought that Kamala Harris was going to win the presidency.
Kamala.
But it would have increased the disclosure. So as long as you disclose your income and disclose the sources, I think that's acceptable.
What?
If you lie about the income, you say, I never received money from China, and then we subpoena your bank records and there's $5 million from China.
No.
I think that's a problem. So, I think it's a legitimate question. A lot of people are concerned, especially since the crypto industry isn't regulated. But as far as my position now, as long as the president's disclosing this, and they're filling out disclosures and they're answering questions. He answers questions about it. If you ask him about his crypto, he'll say, yes, they've got the best crypto country in the world. Now, do the voters like that? I think that's going to be an issue in the next presidential election. I think it's a fair question. But from an ethics standpoint and from an oversight standpoint, the president is disclosing this income, and that, I think, is the most important part, the transparency.
All right, we're out of time.
What? What? He admits that it's a problem on face value. They didn't find any fucking evidence of $5 million to the Biden crime family. They found no evidence of that at all. At all. President Biden's taxes, his financial disclosures, followed every single ethical guideline there was. They found nothing. They found not a damn thing. But the Trump family's wealth increasing from $50 million to $800 million in 10 months, that's not worthy of an investigation? And by the way, have they disclosed that? Where are the financial disclosures? Just because the president's talked about it, you're going to believe it, James? That reminded me of similar rhetoric and bullshit from my bitch, because he's still currently my bitch, Mike Johnson.
I'm a little busy on record.
This goes back a little ways, but this has to do with the Qatari jet. This one, to me, seals the deal about how they don't give a flying fuck about corruption, as long as their guy's doing it.
Conciliations. I'm not following all the twists and turns of the Qatar jet. I've certainly heard about it. My understanding is it's not a personal gift to the president, it's a gift to the United States, and other nations give us gifts all the time. But I'm going to leave it to the administration. They know more about the details of that, okay? it's not my lane.
Speaker, you were very critical of President Biden and his family's foreign business dealings. You supported an impeachment inquiry as a result of it. Are you equally concerned about President Trump's family's business dealings, especially given the fact that he is in a region now where his family has billions of dollars of investments in Doha and Saudi Arabia, and the fact that he has a crypto business now where he's auctioned off access to the White House for the highest bidder in his meeting?
Look, so the question was, you've gone public, you talked about all the criminality and all the issues and the corruption with the Biden crime family, as he calls it. Are you not equally concerned about the billions of dollars of investments that the Trump family has in Doha and in the Middle East, and then you get the gift from the Qataris, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? That's the question he asked. This is the answer.
Authorities that police executive branch ethics rules. I'm not an expert in that. My expertise is here in the House. Okay.
Your expertise is in the House, Mike? Then open the fucking doors.
I will say that the reason many people refer to the Bidens as the Biden crime family is because they were doing all this stuff behind curtains, but in the back rooms. They were trying to conceal it, and they repeatedly lied about it, and they set up shell companies.
No, they didn't.
The family was all engaged and getting all on the dole.
No, they weren't.
Whatever the President Trump is doing is out in the open. They're not trying to conceal anything.
Mr. Speaker, the investment in the meme coin,
what?
Those folks are not transparent.
That's right.
I don't know who those people are.
I don't know.
So again, that's Jesus Christ. James Comer, Mike Johnson. The Biden crime family, even though we don't have any evidence of their crime at all, we don't have any. You spent millions and millions of taxpayer dollars and you found shit. Because if you did find something, then where are the indictments? How come you haven't indicted anybody? How come you haven't charged anybody? Where are the crimes? You had oversight. You have it now. Where are they? Where are the investigations into those crimes? Where are they? Where are they? Go ahead. Investigate. Open up the books. You've got shit. You've been lying about it. But because in your world,
The Biden crime family did it under the cover of darkness. That's something to be investigated, even though the blatant fucking corruption from the people in charge are happening right in front of you. Then that's fine because we see it on full display. And then the crypto investments, because again, the crypto industry is not yet regulated. We don't know who these people are. We have no idea who's investing. We do know about the Binance situation. We do know about the person who was just recent CZ, who was recently pardoned, sentence commuted by the president, about how Binance was a massive funder in the early days of World Liberty Financial, which is the Trump family's crypto business. By the way, Binance was used to move a lot of money to support, guess what? Schmeck's trafficking rings. I shit you not. Where's that investigation, Mike?
Anything about the meme coin thing? I don't know. I can just tell you that, I mean, President Trump has had nothing to hide. He's very upfront about it. And there are people who watch all the ethics of that. But I mean, I've got to be concerned with running the House of Representatives, and that's what I do.
That's your responsibility.
Oversight responsibility.
Yes,
but
it does.
I think, so far as I know, the ethics are all being followed.
Right.
I've been a little busy on record.
How would you fucking know, you dumbass, if you're not investigating it? How would you know, bitch boy? Bitch boy, listen, you're up for a spanking. You've got one more night with me, okay? And I'm unhappy because I forgot all about this. And you told me all of your responsibilities, bitch boy. You've told me about all the things that you're supposed to do, bitch boy. About your investigative powers, your role in government, oversight, what you're supposed to be looking out for. And then you told me during Pillow Talk that you had no evidence of the Biden crime family. And I held you to it. And I was like, I know. You lied to the American people for years about that. He's like, well, I had to do something because Daddy Trump told me to do something. I said, I got it. Exactly, Miguel. Exactly, Miguel, bitch boy. You told us for years you had all this evidence, and then I got you to expose it after you exposed other things. We won't talk about that because that was just scary. Anywho, Miguel, you said that you had all this evidence on the Biden crime family, and there was none. Now, was there, Miguel? No, there wasn't. You're right. And yet now you want to say that Donald Trump's corruption is right out in the open and we shouldn't be investigating it? That's your job. That is literally your job, Miguel. The fuck is wrong with you? It's your job. You want to sit there and stand there in front of the American people? Because again, Miguel, I know you think your voters are stupid, and many of them are. You're going to say, we investigated the Biden crime family, found nothing, $5 million that you tried to connect Joe Biden to nefarious activity, and you found nothing at all. And here is secret transactions to build up the World Liberty Financial, the crypto, and the meme coin situation with the Trump family, increase in wealth, exponential increases of wealth in 10 months, and you're not going to investigate it. Okay. Just want to make sure I heard that properly, bitch boy. Let me just check over here if I need anything to do. Okay. I think I have a few more things here. I covered that. I covered that. Oh, I want to go back to, this is Lindsey Graham. Just back again, if we're talking about corruption and we're talking about criminality and we're talking about regime change, we're talking about just violation of constitutional norms, the Oversight Committee job is specifically within the legislative branch, sure, provides oversight over the other branches, but the Oversight Committee's job in particular is there to keep the executive branch in line. That is their primary constitutional function. Where are the investigations into their own administration? They're not going to do it. They're flat out not going to do it. Instead, they're just going to lie. James Comer's going to focus on the fucking auto pen. Does anybody give a fuck about the auto pen? Does anybody fucking care? I don't give a fuck about the auto pen. I don't fucking care. I don't give a shit. I don't fucking care. I care about kids not being able to eat. I care about women bleeding out in operating room tables or in the lobby. I care about WIC benefits being cut. I care about millions of Americans, including myself, being not able to afford their health insurance. I care about a fucking broken education system. I care about the fact that we live in a world where we have a for-profit healthcare system that is ripping all of us off. I care about the prices of food going up across the board. I don't give a fuck about an auto pen. I don't give a fuck about an auto pen. And nobody else does either. Just your idiot fucking voters. Lindsey Graham talking about the use of force, military force, against alleged drug boats.
Said to the men and women of the military that they are carrying out lawful orders. Secretary Hegseth removed the top uniformed lawyers in the Air Force. You know this, the Navy and the Army, because he called them roadblocks to orders that are given by a commander-in-chief. There have been other departures as well. This raises concern that commanders are not being given adequate legal counsel. That is why you just said that sentence, to assure them.
That's garbage. That's absolute garbage.
Which Hegseth said that?
President Trump doesn't have the. No. I'm saying that the theory that President Trump's doing something here illegally, dealing with a country that's run by an indicted drug dealer, it's the same as Panama. There's a better case to go into Venezuela than there was Panama. There's a better case to deal with Colombia than there was Grenada. Yeah, I've been doing this all of my adult life. I have all the confidence in the world that President Trump has the legal authority, but more importantly, he's doing the right thing. More Americans have died from cocaine and fentanyl poisoning than any terrorist group in the world. I am very pleased that we now have a president who's going to use the full force of the American people, the might of America, to protect us from narco-terrorist states and drug organizations. Keep it up, Mr. President. We're not committing murder. We're protecting our nation from people who want to poison us.
Well, there's obviously buyers on the other end of it, which is why the cartels are selling, right? But I want to...
We'll do with both.
Well, I want to come back to when we talk about lawful orders here. I myself spoke to a former senior commander who said he'd want that in writing because of concern that this is going to be down the line questionable. You've already heard the orders to carry out operations. You've already heard Democratic lawmakers, including on this program, say that they have concerns about future prosecutions of
act on your concerns.
Officers.
Why don't you do? Okay, if you got concerns, here's what we can do as members of Congress. We can call funding for military operations we don't like. So if you're concerned as a Democrat or a Republican, why don't you introduce legislation to cut off all funding to the military?
Who's got the majority, you fucking dumbass?
When it comes to attacking drug boats and going after narco-terrorist states through the military. You can do that. Go ahead and do it. I'll vote no. I think it has all the authority in the world in Article 2 and international law to make sure that countries like Venezuela can't be staging areas to infiltrate drugs into our country. It's not I think he has all the legal authority in the world. And I'm just really glad he's doing this.
Jesus Christ.
And Mr. President, keep it up.
I want to, now that you've heard that, okay, I'm going to play. So that's a sitting senator who's standing there saying all the drugs, all the F drug, all the cocaine, et cetera, coming from Venezuela. Okay, that's a sitting senator. I'm going to play that sound, and I played this earlier from you, from Rand Paul, because they're both on the Senate. They can have the ability to check the executive branch. Who are you going to choose to believe? So this is Rand Paul.
And then moving to the issue of these Venezuelan boats being attacked, the administration's position is clear that they think they're dangerous terrorists representing a direct threat to the lives of Americans, and that's why they're doing it. What is your objection to the way they're executing this strategy?
Well, you know, we have dangerous people in a lot of American cities, but we just don't go in and shoot them. I mean, we have trials, they get legal representation, and even on the high seas, it's been that way for generations. If you go off the coast of Miami, the Coast Guard will be stopping boats today, and about 25% of the boats that they stop, that they're suspicious of drugs, there won't be any drugs on board. So 25% of the time the suspicion is wrong, and that's why we don't shoot and just blow up boats off of Miami, but neither should we be blowing them up off the coast of Venezuela. number one, there is no fentanyl made in Venezuela. Not just a little bit, there's none being made in Venezuela. These are outboard boats that, in order for them to get to Miami, would have to stop and refuel 20 times. They're in all likely going to Trinidad and Tobago, which is an island right off of the coast of Venezuela. So there's a lot of reasons to be worried about this. But number one is the broader principle of when can you kill people indiscriminately? When you're at war. That's why when we declare war, it's supposed to be done by Congress. It's supposed to be thoughtful. It's supposed to be debated. And we're not supposed to do it willy-nilly. And then when you have war, you just kill people in the war zone. And even then there are rules of engagement. But interdicting drugs has always been a criminal activity and a criminal anti-crime sort of activity where we don't just summarily execute people. We actually present evidence.
So there you go. Talk about a juxtaposition between those two, right? Lindsey Graham saying, oh, he's got all the authority in the world. Rand Paul's like, no, he doesn't. We're fucking Congress. We have that authority. That's infighting within the Republican Party, and I'm here for it, right? Speaking of the, I'm not even sure how I want to talk about this story. Let me see if I have the one queued up that I wanted to discuss. So there was a recent ruling. This is crazy. This is what I talked earlier about, how the layers of incompetence, right? It's the corruption. We've covered that pretty well today. It's the corruption connected to all these things that they're doing to penalize the American taxpayers to the tune of what? We said $230 million that he wants back from the DOJ, $350 million that he got private investments, and then the $40 billion to Venezuela or to Argentina, $175 million, 2 jets for Kristi Noem, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Over, $45.5 billion, whatever that number is, right? Meanwhile, Snap goes broke as of November 1st. And a reminder that there were no protections built in for Snap in the big, beautiful bill. That's not in there. The funding does not get allocated while the government shut down, but yet we're spending $40 billion to Argentina, and yet Kristi Noem's getting new jets, and $230 million on the docket that Trump wants to get back from the Department of Justice. Yeah, that's fine. Nothing to see here, right? So now we're talking about the incompetence. We've discussed this many, many times. There's reporting out of the, hold on a second. Hey, buddy. Sorry. My dog does not like, different hat, but doesn't like my hat. Anyway, there's reporting out of Portland, the attempted justification to send the National Guard. And this entire thing has blown up in their face. Shocker. The DOJ had stated in filings that approximately 115, this is reported by Law and Crime, also by Reuters and by Politico. The DOJ had stated in filings that approximately 115 officers from the Federal Protective Services, or FPS, had been redeployed to Portland, and then that the number presented, quote, was nearly a quarter of FPS officers nationwide. Upon further review, the DOJ admitted the 115 figure was erroneous. It was actually the number of deployments and not individuals. The number of distinct officers deployed during the relevant time frame was only 86. Further, of those 86 individuals, only 65 were inspectors, the category whose primary mission is protecting federal facilities. That means the actual percentage of FPS inspectors redirected was about 13%, not a quarter. In short, the DOJ acknowledged that its representation of the scale of the deployment used as part of its legal argument to justify federal action was materially overstated. The DOJ used deployment numbers as part of its argument that the federal government, through the president, was, quote, unable to execute the laws with regular forces in Portland, a justification for federalizing the Oregon National Guard under 10 U.S. Code 12406, because the underlying factual basis was inflated The state of Oregon argued, and a federal court found that the federal government's case was weakened in its claim of exigent conditions justifying such a federal takeover. For example, the district court issued a restraining order blocking deployment in Portland, noting the situation did not justify the federal intervention. The fact that the DOJ itself filed the motion saying, quote, "We deeply regret these errors." Are you fucking kidding me? So again, no legal justification, even under perfect conditions, there was no legal justification for them to do what they did in Portland. Now they've been caught in a fucking lie, attempting to justify what they're doing. It's significant because it talks about credibility. Again, the incompetence, not just the lack thereof of credibility, but it's the blatant fucking incompetence. It is wild to me. We talk about normalizing this shit. This is another example. If the Biden administration or the Clinton administration or the Obama administration had done something like this, this would be front and center. They would be calling for heads. Who's to blame? Pam fucking Bondi. Pam Bondi. When the federal government makes representations to the judiciary that turn out to be materially inaccurate, future filings may be subjected to heightened skepticism or scrutiny. So what's the response going to be? These radical left judges are denying our ability to protect citizens in Portland? Don't forget, the National Guard was not deployed to protect citizens. The National Guard was deployed to protect the fucking mass cowardice, pussy-ass bitch thug ICE agents. And by the way, if any of you are in the chat right now and you're an ICE agent and you're just scrolling through, you're a pussy-ass bitch. Soft-handed pussy-ass bitches. Take your fucking mask off, you fucking pathetic fucking cowards. We see you. You get lied to all the time. You're incompetent. You're weak. You've never amounted to anything. You were the assistant to the assistant general manager. Fuck you, you pussy-ass fucking bitches. You've been lied to too. Damn. Legal precedent. This case touches on important questions of federal versus state control of the National Guard and the circumstances under which the federal government may intervene domestically. The fact pattern may set precedent or highlight the need for legislative clarity. Operational forecasting. The mischaracterization of numbers. Again, they're being generous. The mischaracterization of numbers. Now, I can't sit here and say that they intentionally did it. Seems like they did because they needed to justify it. The fact that they had to make a quote that said, "We deeply regret these errors." Okay. So now again, because in the MAGA sphere, like MAGA's not going to get this news. They're not going to get this independent journalist's approach to breaking this shit down. So when Pam Bondi might get questioned of this in a press conference, if she ever does go public again, and she's asked these questions, she's going to be like, "It's a radical leftist judge, and they don't care about the safety of American citizens." And then a reporter says, "Well, why did you guys make a statement? Why did you guys make a statement that says we deeply regret these errors?" That's taken out of context. Okay. The mischaracterization of numbers, for example, how many officers were deployed, suggests that planning and data collection were weaker than asserted. For those modeling scenarios, this suggests one should bake in greater uncertainty. Okay. Okay. How about organizational staffing? How many people are needed? How many people are required? Reputational and governance dimensions. For administration, the ability to justify federal action domestically depends on maintaining clear and defensible data metrics. The mismatch here could lead to perceived overreach, legal blowback, political cost, which all feed into organizational risk. So the summary of this case, and I'm going to wrap soon. Here's the timeline. Temporary restraining order granted in the district court on October 4th. The judge, Immergut, blocked the deployment, finding the record didn't justify federalizing Oregon's National Guard under 10 U.S. Code 12406. State City temporary restraining order motion on September the 29th. Ninth Circuit administrative stay on October 8th. A 3-judge panel temporarily paused the TRO, allowing federal preparations to continue while the appeal proceeded. Ninth Circuit opinion on October the 20th. A divided panel signaled that the president likely acted within statute authority. Dissent discussions highlight gaps in the FPS numbers. And then here we are. The on-bank deployment, the Ninth Circuit voted to rehear the case, remains blocked until review. Now, again, you lie about everything along the way. You're going to lose this case because you fucking lied. And you've admitted it now that you've lied. Don't miss me with the gross exaggeration bullshit. You fucking lied. Like, you break curfew with your parents. Listen, my intentions were to be here on time. I had to stop and help a kitty that I found on the side of the road. Then a tree branch fell. Then I saw a massive flood and there was a plague of locusts. So I might be a little bit late, but just want to let you know what happened. They fucking lied to try to justify their bullshit. Plain and simple. There's no other argument for or against. You fucking lied. Stop being cucks. Pussy ass bitches. Seriously. Hello, how are you today?
Hi, how you doing? Thank you for having me up. I just got two quick things. One, I wonder how often Bondi is going to be able to lie before anything really happens. I read some chatter online that basically Trump would rather keep her on and allow her to continue fucking up rather than giving the media a win, I think was the quote. And then I was calling up before about your Catholic school bit, or your Catholic bit that you were doing. I went to Catholic school for 15 years, and I think truly you kind of like grazed the upper skin of how deep that problem runs, down into like indoctrination and susceptibility to believing things that are like not based in fact. I was taught blatantly wrong things and like as well as like verbally and physically like threatened and abused as like in the early 2000s by nuns and people who were teaching in these Catholic schools. It like runs so much deeper, and the sexual abuse that is like the forefront of the abuse of the Catholic Church is like really only the tip of the iceberg. Like it runs so much deeper than that. And I appreciate you bringing that to light. I got to run now, but I just wanted to drop that in and say thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for jumping in. I appreciate you very much for being here. Thanks. He's right. Yeah, God, we could talk about that all day. I mean, that entire fucking industry who just uses their power and their prominence to abuse children. It's disgusting. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Oh, hey. Sorry, I was working. Didn't even know I was up. So, Chauncey Irie, that is your middle name, right?
Should be. Should be.
I'll try to be quick since you're going to be breaking soon, but I've been having deep thoughts on boats lately. And I just need a premise. Of course, these are my own theories and pattern recognition from probably way too much doom scrolling and being online too much. But honestly, I don't think the U.S. military is making these strikes. I think it's actually
contractors. Contractors, maybe.
Not necessarily contractors. I think it's probably DEA through the CBP or the CIA with their classified predators.
Could be.
And what makes me think that is there was recently a news story that came out from Reuters that said that officials are having to sign NDAs about military action, which doesn't really make sense because top secret stuff that kind of covers. You don't have to sign an NDA. Why are they doing that?
Well, Tootle, now that we know that many press agencies have been kicked out of the Pentagon because they don't want leaks, how would we know? Exactly. Right? How would we know?
The other thing that makes me think that it's not the military is the Southern Command Admiral Halsey, who recently is resigning. As a combatant commander, they have a direct line to the Secretary of Defense and the President. They don't have to go through the Joint Chiefs to take their orders. So the Southern Command admiral was taking direct orders from the Pentagon to make these strikes, and I'm sure these are illegal orders, he's refusing. It's not going down the chain to the lower ranks to carry out these strikes, because they probably wouldn't carry out these strikes because they would then know these must be illegal orders. So I think it's stopping at the admiral, and he's saying, no, I'm not going to carry this out. So that's why he's quitting, and somebody else is coming.
I think you're probably right. Yeah, no, I think you're probably right about that. I mean, I think the appropriate term. I think he retired. He didn't resign. I think he might have retired
he said
early.
He's retired at the end of the year, but it's been moved up, and I think he's just he's along with the rest of the military, and I think the rest of the military is on the side with him too. I mean, you saw.
It seems like it.
You saw
at
JD's speech at the 250th military parade when some of the troops made murmurs or tried to applaud. The company commander who was there, he ordered them to shut up immediately. So they stopped each time. So the officers are telling do not follow orders from this president.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a conversation we had with our friend Daniela, the knitting cult lady, who was in the Army, and she said that Trump thinks he has a military, but he doesn't. No. And I hold on to that because military code of justice, you can't by law you can't obey an illegal order, and I just think it's just par for the course. They need to flex. They need to give off some air of invincibility, some air of alpha fucking bullshit. It's just pathetic.
Which is 100% Hegseth. He's all about bravado and war fighters now and so forth. Which kind of leads me to my last point was, we obviously we're belly aching about will the president declare martial law, the Alien Enemies Act, and will the Insurrection Act be admitted? I mean, these are valid fears, and we're going to battle back for this. But I don't think that's going to matter because he's made ICE the 16th largest military in the world. So he's got an end run to have a military that will do what he wants in the U.S. without having to declare any of those things.
Yeah, that's true. There's still more of us than them, but I think you're right. I think that's it's like the paramilitary. It's like his own SS, his own Gestapo, and that's kind of what he's creating. But thanks for jumping in. Buddy. I appreciate you as always.
Have a great day, and I'll think a bit of Henry.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that. So look, we talked about a lot today, and I just want to remind folks, if I could just ask you to just send a little bit of love and hope to my friend Henry. He's a personal friend of mine. This is Jamaica. This is where he lives. I've not been able to reach him. I'm worried about him because they don't have much of anything aside from the biggest hearts I've ever seen in my life. I told the story at the beginning of the day. I won't bring it up again, but I would just ask that people, if you have some thoughts and prayers, if you pray or hope, or just some good karma into the ether for people in Jamaica and also Cuba now, because Hurricane Melissa is a bona fide bitch, and I just want to let people know that my brother, I'm thinking about you, Irie, friend, Irie. All right, we're gonna wrap there today, friends. We're gonna I just want to remind everybody that we have to stop normalizing this bullshit. We cannot just stand by and just let stuff happen without raising a voice. And because you oppose it, you're going to be labeled something. Because you oppose it, you're going to be labeled as anti-American. Because you oppose it, you're going to be deemed a threat. And I say, own that fucking shit. You're much more American than they are. You're much more patriotic than they are. You are a threat to them, and they know it, which is why they're trying to cheat in the next election. Okay. Yes, there's a show tomorrow, friends. A little programming update. We won't be on YouTube tomorrow, but we'll be here. Okay. She may be listening. Our friend Sam is getting a break that she's deserves. So she's getting a break today, and from a technical perspective, although I have all the pieces now for YouTube, so I'm going to do a test run over the weekend. So we won't be streaming on YouTube tomorrow, but please come back tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I love you all. You guys are the best. Smartest chat on TikTok. Mods, you guys are the best. We're going to go rate our friend Danny, D-A-N-I. Please tell her we said hello.
literally, when we go back home to South Carolina, I just pack it all up, put it in my little go bag.